Good evening, everyone, and welcome to MCE Board of Directors meeting. The time is 6:32 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you please call roll?
Belvedere. Benicia.
Here.
Concord.
Here.
Contra Costa County.
Here.
Corte Madera. Danville.
Here.
Thank you. One moment. El Cerrito. Fairfax.
Here.
Fairfield.
Here.
Hercules.
Here.
Lafayette.
Here.
Larkspur.
Here.
Marin County.
Here.
Martinez. Mill Valley. Moraga. Napa, the city
Here.
of Napa.
Here.
Thank you. Napa County and 4 Napa cities.
Here.
Thank you. Novato.
Here.
Oakley. Pinole.
Here.
Thank you. Pittsburgh. Pleasant Hill. Richmond.
Here.
Thank you. Ross. San Anselmo.
Here.
San Pablo. San Rafael.
Here.
San Ramon.
Present.
Sausalito.
Here.
Thank you. Solano County. Tiburon. Vallejo. Walnut Creek.
Here.
Quorum established.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is board announcements. Just want to check in with our directors to see are there any board announcements here in Concord? You see any, Tanya? Can you help me? All right. How about in San Rafael? Jessica, do you see any directors that may have board announcements?
Jessica had to step out for a moment, but we do have one director who has board announcements.
Okay, can you please call on that director for me?
Director Sackett.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to report out that the ad hoc governance subcommittee has been meeting, which is Chair Scales Preston, Supervisor Alicio, Councilmember Birdseye, myself, and then Vice Chair Darling joined us in our last meeting. We've met a handful of times, including with various consultants that have been referred to us and who have generously given their time to kind of guide us on the do's and don'ts of drafting an RFP. And so we have drafted an RFP. It's in draft form, and we circulated it. We went late on Friday, so we didn't miss the publishing time for this agenda for tonight, but we intend to have that ready for the next board meeting to bring that to the full board to look at and hopefully give us the opportunity to move forward with that process.
Thank you, Director Sackett, and all of the directors that are serving on that committee, or the ad hoc committee. Do we have any comments from directors via Zoom? All right, seeing or hearing none, we'll move on to public open time. This is an opportunity for members of the public to make comments that on items that are not on the agenda. As a reminder, we will not be able to have discussions about items that are not on the agenda. Do we have any public comment from members of the public in Concord? And I don't see any here. Do we have any public comment from members of the public in San Rafael?
Yes, we do. One moment.
If you could please call on them, Jessica. Thank you.
Dan Sejedin.
Good evening, Dan Segedin, Marine Conservation League. I wanted to thank management for coming out with the true GHG emissions using hourly accounting that they recently provided in a presentation. It was good to see that kind of daylighted, very helpful. In a meeting between MCL and MCE procurement about 2 years ago, we understood from MCE procurement that there'd be a lot of assumptions that went into such an analysis. And we'd like to just see, now that you've published some results, we'd like to see the methodology and assumptions behind that. And as part of that, if you could just kind of confirm our calculation that you're in the high 70% for GHG free, that would be great to do. So thank you very much. Just like to know the methodology and assumptions and get some transparency around that. We appreciate you doing it and hopefully look forward to further discussion on it. Thank you.
We have member of the public, Nick Pappas.
We can't hear you here in Concord.
Great. Let me try that again. Good evening, everybody. My name is Nick Pappas. I'm an MCE customer in San Anselmo. This is my first time appearing before you in person. I did get the chance to speak to you all virtually about a month ago related to the 100% fossil-free issue. I appreciate the action the staff and the board have taken around that. I wrote a memo to the MCE board related to the technical committee meeting on February 6th discussing violations or, in my lens, apparent violations of Resolution 2020-04 around contract approval. As you'll see in the memo that I wrote and the staff memo from the technical committee meeting, the plain reading of Resolution 2020-04, which requires consultation with the technical committee related to contracts under 5 years and then approval and authorization through the technical committee chair, seems to be plainly violated. Now, that's not the conclusion that you'll see in the staff memo, but I think if you go back and watch the recording of the technical committee, you'll note that staff seem to be pretty shaky on whether any discussions of past practices might result in legal risk, which to my ears seems like we don't feel that strong about the conclusion that no violations occurred. The memo goes into not just my lens as a non-attorney of the requirements of the MC staff and the technical committee to review these medium-term contracts, but also the policy implications. Medium-term contracts under 5 years, represent the vast majority of the expenditures of this agency. These include your energy transactions, your energy hedges, your resource adequacy transactions, your attribute purchases. They're really, really significant. They represent the vast majority of the expenses of this agency. I'm troubled both by the observation that the MC board does not seem engaged with these transactions, does not seem to be overseeing these transactions, that the consultation requirement seems to be largely disregarded, as you'll see in the memo. The consultation requirement, as staff presented, is met through one single annual report out from the CEO, lasting about 3 minutes. One of those was given at that meeting. It does not involve any quantitative discussion about the market landscape, and just generally removes the board's engagement whatsoever from this process. Like the fossil-free issue, it doesn't bring me joy being here before you talking about things that I think should come somewhat naturally, following your board resolutions, engaging with the board on these, bringing transparency and daylight to the contracts that are being approved are things that we would like to expect from a community choice aggregator that's rooted in local control and local transparency. As I noted in the memo, the information that MCE reports publicly to the Energy Commission and other agencies that I and others can access is considerably more robust than the information that you all are getting in board packets about these transactions after they come out. I'll just conclude by saying, there's a lot that MCE has to be proud of. It's the oldest CCA. You guys overcame a lot of adversity. You've done a great job building a portfolio. I think this is an opportunity to both avoid some of the unnecessary overstatements like we saw with the 100% fossil-free claim.
Thank you for your public comment. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
We had
I
hit
was
your
just
3
getting to the
minutes.
good part. How many great things you guys have done. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica, do we have any additional public comment in San Rafael?
We do not.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment at our virtual location?
No public comment in Napa.
Do you have any members of the public in your room?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. And Jessica or Tanya, do we have any public comment via Zoom?
Yes, I see a hand raised by Jody Timms.
Okay, we'll take that.
Good evening, Board of Directors. This is Jody Timms. I'm speaking on behalf of 350 Marin, and hello also to the staff and to the community members who are here on Zoom or in person. I sent a memo yesterday about my public comment, but just generally, I want to say that as a very concerned community member also, I have been going to all of your meetings. I've been to technical assistance. I've been to the executive committee. I've been to the finance committee. I've been to the board meetings. And I am seeing some of the dynamics that to me show more openness and frankness from both the staff and from the board of directors. I'm encouraged by that. I'd like to see more, but I'm just very hopeful that tonight there'll be a lot of good and honest, as I say, questions back and forth for the board to step up in their responsibility for oversight, for the staff to speak as transparently as possible around especially a lot of our budget items or the budget items that you're going to be expressing. I also want to appreciate the public. There are some people in this Bay Area who know a lot about the energy industry, et cetera. And I appreciate the time that they've taken to step up here and at the Concord meetings. So I wish you well tonight. I'm going to be listening. I may speak again down the line, but I just, I'm happy to see what's happening and I would really like to see more of it. And I'm also glad to hear Mary Sackett talk about the assessment. As I said before, I really think an organizational assessment as well as a governance assessment is really important so we can look at all aspects of MCE's work in the world. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I want to thank all community members for their public comment. We'll now move on to item 4, report from our CEO.
All right. Good evening, Board of Directors. It's great to see you all. I wanted to start off with just noting that we have some time-sensitive policy decisions that we all want to get to tonight for our customers. So I'm going to keep this report really brief. Just a couple of logistical notes. There are some responses to recent questions about MCE that have been printed and are available in hard copy at your seat for reference. And we have a stack available for the public as well. Also, just a logistical note that to avoid some of the confusion that we had in our January meeting, the information-only items included in the packet are towards the end, but after a cover sheet that explains what each of them are. So hopefully that makes it a little bit easier to figure out which items are information only. And then regarding the policy decisions that we're going to be talking about tonight, The presentation on rates and the budget has all been prepared through the lens of how we can best support our customers. It follows quite a few meetings over the last 6 weeks, introducing, building on, and refining this content. And we expect, we are certain that most of you, if not all of you, were able to participate in or watch both of the budget workshops that we held. The first one was on January 28th. The second was on February 11th. If you haven't yet watched, please let us know. We can send you the links again. We also know many of you were involved in the discussions on this same content at the Executive Committee meeting on February 2nd, the Finance Committee meeting where some of this was discussed, and then we had 2 technical committee meetings, February 6th and 13th. So given all of the discussion that we've had on the budget and the rate setting, primarily on the rate setting, I'll say, we're going to only provide very high-level overviews of the material in the packet tonight. So there's a lot of information in the packet. We're going to really hone in on just a few of the focused areas where we think there's been an interest in focusing. We're going to spend most of our time tonight on rate setting with the goal of incorporating a rate adjustment into the proposed budget that will be coming to you in March. And the March Executive Committee will include a careful walkthrough of all the budget elements, and all board members are welcome to participate in that meeting as usual or watch the recording afterwards. And then the last, I just wanted to give a quick update about a couple of things happening beyond the scope of our service area, and that is our involvement in a PCIA bill. PCIA stands for the Power Charge Indifference Adjustment, and it is the big element showing up on our customers' bills right now. And we're trying to address what's happening with the PCIA and try to bring more clarity to how it's calculated and hopefully get it to a place where we can have a more reasonable outcome and a more stable outcome for the PCIA. So we've partnered with CalCCA and issued a transparency bill, which is now in print, a PCIA transparency bill. It would give CCA customers and ratepayer advocates better and more transparent access to the data that's used to calculate the PCIA. The goal of the bill is to ensure that PCIA calculations are accurate and to help MCE and other CCAs ensure that our customer bills are as stable and affordable as possible. So you'll be receiving an email soon from our board clerk with more information about the bill. We'll also include a template letter of support and contact information for Stephanie Chen, who is our lead on all things legislation. Also, there's another bill that will be appearing soon regarding resource adequacy transactions and aiming to reduce cost by allowing more transactability between load serving entities on resource adequacy. So I know it seems a little boring, but these are really big drivers in our customer costs. So I want to make sure folks are aware of what we're doing there. And I also hope you'll consider recommending a support position to your city councils or board of supervisors on those. And last but not least, the CalCCA annual conference is coming up in Sacramento, May 12th through 14th. I've got a flyer here if anyone wants to take a picture of it and keep track of the details. This is going to be celebrating CalCCA's 10-year anniversary and is a great way to connect with fellow board members from other CCAs around the state. Let us know if you're interested and we can take care of your registration if you get back to us real soon. And that's it for my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dawn, for the update. Do we have any questions or comments from directors in San Rafael? Jessica, if you see someone, you can call on that director.
Director Perret?
Yeah, just a question on the PCIA bill. Do we know when it goes to committee, to its first policy committee?
Ooh, I do not have that information. I wonder if Stephanie Chen may be on the line and may want to answer that.
Just for city council members and board of soups who might want to get that support position, and it might be good to have that date. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, as of last week, it had not been scheduled, but I will tell you the number for it. It is AB 1761 Rogers. Okay, Stephanie's not with us, but we'll follow up with you for sure. Thank you.
Jessica, are there any additional questions or comments from San Rafael?
I see no additional hands, Chair.
Thank you. And bringing it here to Concord to see, and I see, nope. All right, we will check our virtual location to see if the directors there have any questions or comments. Seeing no raised hands. All right, moving on to public comment on this item. We do not have any members of the public here in Concord or at our virtual location. Do we have any members of the public in San Rafael?
What was the question? Sorry.
Do we have any members of the public on this item that would like to speak to this item?
I see no raised hands, Chair.
Do we have any members of the public via Zoom?
I see no raised hands online.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to our next item, which is the consent calendar. Do I have any directors that would like to make a motion on the consent calendar?
This is Director Jorens Gulati. I would like to make a motion for the consent calendar.
And I'll second that, Barbara Kohler, Fairfax.
First from Director Galati, second from Director Kohler. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Belvedere,
Yes.
Benicia,
Yes.
Concord,
Yes.
Contra Costa County.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Danville,
Yes.
Fairfax,
Yes.
Fairfield, Hercules,
Yes.
Lafayette,
Yes.
Madam Clerk, I apologize for pausing this vote. We have not taken public comment on this item, and I just wanted to make sure that we were able to capture that.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment on this item? I apologize about that.
I see no raised hands here in San Rafael.
Okay, we have no members of the public here in Concord. Just to confirm, we have no members of the public at our virtual location.
That's correct.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the public via Zoom that would like to make a comment on the consent calendar?
I see no raised hands, Chair.
Thank you. Turning it back over to you, Madam Clerk.
Yes.
Larkspur,
Yes.
thank you. Marin County,
Yes.
Mill Valley,
Yes.
City of Napa,
Yes.
the County of Napa and 4 Napa cities,
Yes.
Novato,
Yes.
Oakley,
Yes.
Pinole,
Yes.
Richmond,
Yes.
San Anselmo,
Abstain.
San Rafael,
Yes.
San Ramon,
Yes.
Sausalito,
Yes.
Walnut Creek.
Yes.
Is there anybody that I missed?
Yes.
Chair,
Yes.
I also vote yes.
Thank you.
This is Fairfield.
Okay,
And Pittsburgh as well, please vote yes.
thank you.
Also, this is Councilmember Palmares from the City of Vallejo. I vote yes as well.
Okay. Did you get Pittsburgh and Fairfield? Okay. Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll now move on to item 6.
Madam Chair,
Oh, sorry. Yes.
If we can just have the clerk check the roll again, I think there's some folks who are who are listed as absent on the roll, and that's why we're having some discrepancies around them being called. So if we can just have the clerk just check for the roll just one more time.
Madam Clerk, can you please check the roll one more time? If everyone can look up at the screen to see if their city or county was selected correctly. And then our director from Moraga just walked in as well. We just was voting on the consent calendar.
Did Maraga say yes?
Yes.
It should be accurate now, so if there's any discrepancies, please let me know.
Can you double check to make sure Pittsburgh is noted as present?
Do you have Pittsburgh noted as present?
Forgive me, Chair, we're just having a little bit of a lag. It is marked as present on our end. Someone else is sharing the screen, so I think there's a lag between Jessica's screen and someone else's. One moment.
Thank you.
We could retake that.
Chair, because I think that there's some discrepancies between the lag and folks walking in, it might just be more efficient to just call another roll to ensure that we have captured everybody who is present right now.
Yes, let's do that. Okay.
Thank you.
Belvedere,
Present.
Anisha,
Here.
we're voting on consent calendar, correct?
We're voting on the
The roll
consent
call.
calendar, item number 5.
Yes.
Sorry, Chair, the clarification was this is just a roll call to make sure that we have everybody present. We believe that the vote has already been captured for consent.
Okay. Thank you. So we're calling another roll call.
Yeah.
Benicia,
Here.
Concord,
Still here.
Contra Costa County,
Here.
Corte Madera, Danville,
Here.
El Cerrito, Fairfax,
Here.
thank you, Fairfield,
Here.
Hercules,
Here.
Lafayette,
Here.
Larkspur,
Here.
Marin County,
Here.
Martinez, Mill Valley,
Here.
Moraga,
Here.
Napa, City of Napa,
Here.
the County of Napa and 4 Napa cities,
Here.
Novato,
Here.
Oakley,
Here.
Pinole,
Here.
Pittsburgh.
I am present.
Thank you. Pleasant Hill, Richmond,
Here.
Ross, San Anselmo,
Yeah, here.
San Pablo, San Rafael,
Present.
San Ramon,
Present.
Sausalito,
Here.
Solano, Tiburon, Vallejo,
Present.
Walnut Creek.
Here, and Corte Madera just showed up, so.
Thank you.
Present.
Quorum established.
Thank
And
you.
Chair, just to help us out here, since we're in teleconferencing locations, if you notice anybody who walks in, it'd be great to flag for us, and the clerk can notice it here in this room. Appreciate that.
Thank you. So Tanya, if you can help me out if any directors walk in. All right. So it's great that we have more directors here in all of our locations for our next agenda item, which is item number 6, the proposed MCE rate reduction. And I will turn it over to our CFO.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here today and bearing with us once again to discuss the proposed rate reduction. Joining me in the presentation is Kalader Bolampali on joining us remotely today. So before we dive into the presentation, I want to note that today's deck is a streamlined version of what was included in your packet. We've condensed the material to keep this item discussion focused, as Dawn mentioned earlier today, since the full presentation has already been reviewed in committee meetings and during the budget workshop. All supporting detail is still available in the backup section, and we can pull up any of those slides if the board would like to explore a topic further. We will use the result of our recommendation tonight to build the proposed budget for fiscal year 26-27, which will be presented next month at XCOM and at the board meetings. So let's move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So this slide summarizes 5 rate reduction options and the trade-offs behind them. As the reduction differs and the recovery grows, requiring more support of the Operating Reserve Fund, the ORF, the reserves and procurement adjustments. In return, customer bills improve, especially without the PCIA. The core decision is how much under recovery we are willing to absorb to deliver greater customer savings. So next slide, please. I'll pass it back to Kalader.
Thank you, Mayra. Good evening, everyone. Now that we have reviewed rate reduction options quickly, it's kind of helpful to see what customers actually experience on their bill. So on this slide, we're showing comparison between MCE and PG&E customers and their bills. Just to reorient everyone, in the blue column, which is PG&E's 2026 rates, and we have generation rate in rows, delivery rate and PCIA, and the total electricity cost, $ per kilowatt hour, and average monthly bill. For 2026, PG&E customers' average monthly bill, again, this is typical residential based on ETOUC plan, is roughly $180. If you look at MCE light green, in 2025, it was around $192, but the current MCE customers based on current rate is around roughly $210, which is around $29 to $30 more than where PG&E is. So that's where we have the options, option 1 to 5, that particular customer bill drops from anywhere from $192 in the most aggressive option to a little bit over $200. Again, currently MCE customers' bill is around 16% higher than PG&E's. Under various options, 1 to 5, it would drop from anywhere 7% to 12%. For comparison, for reference, I think if we have last bullet point there, average bills under TBCC, again, as a refresh, any customer who opts out of a CCA without providing notice, they would be PG&E would place them on TBCC rate structure, and which is very volatile as it's tied to CAISO market And typical bills would range from a little bit over $200 to $276. That would be around 16 to a little bit over 50% higher than PG&E's standard bundle rates. And that would be for the 6 months. Okay. Next slide, please. In this slide is a summary of what Don really talked about initially. We had various workshops and committee meetings in the last several weeks. Starting from budget workshop, which provided some context around rates, billing, and cost elements. Then we had executive and finance committees, which reviewed rate proposals and budget elements respectively, but did not take any formal action. And then we had budget workshop 2, which provided additional information around budget elements and rate proposals, and we got great feedback from that session. And then finally, technical committee met twice and reviewed all the rate reduction options in detail and was the only body to take formal action. So key outcome, technical committee unanimously recommended option 2 for board consideration. Next slide, please. So now, just to go, this slide, we're trying to kind of summarize the feedback we received from the board and committee meetings. And again, there's the formal action, option 2 is the unanimous recommendation, as I said, from the technical committee. And informal comments, informal feedback really is strong preference to maintain MCE's clean energy targets. There is interest in providing flexibility, particularly clean energy procurement, given market uncertainty. There was consensus around avoiding any option that could negatively affect MCE's credit rating. Continued support for existing customer programs. There is broad informal alignment that option 2, which aligns MCE's generation rates with PG&E's, strikes the right balance between competitiveness and financial prudence. There's some interest in avoiding rate changes frequently, which would reduce rates aggressively this year, but that would trigger increases in the future years. And support to refund MCE's CARES credit. Right. Next slide, please. So this slide, again, slide 2, summarizes 5 general generation rate reduction options currently under board consideration. But we also included proposed CARES credit in column 3, you can see, based on the feedback we received from committee and workshops meetings. Again, technical committee met on February 13th. On the day they unanimously recommended option 2. So focusing on option 2, again, to refresh, option 2 aligns MCE's generation rates with PG&E generation rates, reduction of a little bit over 2 cents, which is a 14% reduction from where MCE's rates are right now. And including a 10 million CARES credit restoration. That results in 27 million under recovery, which can be addressed with a partial use of operating reserve fund. Again, those rates in option 2 are sustainable rates. On the customer side, option 2 results in no bill difference compared to bundle customers when excluding PCIA, and $21 above bundle customers when PCIA is included. Option 3, 4, and 5 offer deeper reductions, but come with significantly higher under recoveries, up to 119 million, and would require full operating reserve fund usage, along with reserve-backed funding and also lower clean energy procurement to balance. So overall, option 2 balances customer relief, competitiveness, and financial sustainability, which is why it received a unanimous committee recommendation. Okay. Go to next slide, please. And this slide, we have the additional options to consider. This in possibility, option 2 paid with a temporary rate credit that expires at the end of December 2026. You can see in the third row or the the fourth row really. Option 2 plus temporary credit. The temporary credits adds an additional 0.62 cents per kilowatt hour reduction, creating a short-term boost in customer affordability. This combined option increases under recovery from 27 million to 62 million, requiring heavier usage of operating reserve fund. From a customer bill perspective, option 2 with the temporary credit results in a $3 monthly bill reduction compared to bundle service excluding PCIA, and $18 above bundle customers when PCIA is included. The temporary credit provides more immediate savings to customers without locking MCE into long-term revenue impacts, since it automatically sunsets at year-end 2026. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Myra for closing comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. So in closing, the options 2 and the option 2.5, 2 plus, as we've been naming that one, they both provide temporary relief and offer balance of customer relief and competitiveness and fiscal responsibility to MCE. And we appreciate your consideration, and we look forward to discussing further those options or any other options we might consider tonight. I'm opening for questions and discussion.
Thank you so much for your presentation. We'll start with questions and comments from directors at our, let's start with our Napa location.
Okay, thank you for starting with us. I really appreciate the presentation, like many others. I listened to the workshop, I attended a workshop, and I really appreciate all of that extra time that staff put into providing this information on this issue that I think is not only very complicated, but really important to us as an organization and important to our customers. I think the recommendation from the technical committee is really sound. I think that puts our generation rate in line with PG&E, but and the various priorities that we set, I think I'm also quite in alignment with. What I'd like to really explore further is the optional addition, because while even going with your option 2.05 plus dips into reserves significantly, but it shows that we're doing what we can to make an effort to reduce the cost to our customers for a short period of time. I'm trying to balance that with what it means to be dipping into our reserves. I know that's also a significant issue, but whatever we can do to try to at least bridge some of that gap, I think is important to us as ratepayers. So I would be in support of the technical committee's recommendation, but also would like to consider at this point and like to hear from other directors on the notion of adding the short-term addition that was described in the last slide that you showed. Director Gallagher, do you have comments?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation and all of the background materials in the packet. I think that the technical committee's recommendation is sound, and I think this is going to succeed. Really, the messaging is going to be really, really important in terms of how this is all messaged to customers, so that they understand that MCE is trying their very best and still very committed to their mission. And so I think that messaging will have to be just worked through very carefully. And but I understand a lot of work's been put into this, and a lot of discussions and a lot of previous meetings. So thank you for all of the great work. And I also am in favor of the technical committee's recommendation.
Thank you both for your comments. We're going to bring it back over to Concord. Director McCormick.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for the streamlined presentation. I question on so the care credit's new for the $10 million. I'm just curious how that would manifest. Is that because if we have 100,000 or so on the care plan, does that mean a $100 credit on their bill, or is it like $8 per month, or how would that work?
Say, you may want to comment on this. I think one thing that would be a helpful starting point, though, is that the MCE CARES credit for the prior fiscal year, the one that we're still in, was $5 million. So this would be a doubling. But Zay, do you want to explain what the MCE CARES credit is?
Certainly. So the MCE CARES credit was established back in COVID times for additional support for our most vulnerable customers. And currently it provides a $20 per month credit to those eligible care customers that are enrolled. And in addition, a $25 per month credit to our small to medium-sized businesses that also fall into the same category.
Great. Okay. So that would just be a monthly credit on top of what we're talking about. And just to confirm, and just to reflect on Director Painter's comment in Napa, we talked about, dipping into reserves, and that's concerning, but we really are, there's two different reserve buckets, right? This is the ORF, right? Which I'm internalizing as kind of our rate stabilization reserve. I mean, that's the way I think about it, right? That's money that's put in there for the purpose of smoothing the rate for our customers, which is separate from our reserves that we're keeping, that we have our goal, our 60% plus, whatever, right? I just want to confirm, right? Those are really two different buckets. And right now we're really just talking about pulling from the ORF fund, correct?
Yeah, Director McCormick is picking.
Yeah.
Short answer is you're correct.
Okay.
We can give you more details if you need to.
No, I just wanted to for everybody's benefit, because we are talking about from reserves, but really have two different buckets, and really for option 2 plus or whatever, it's talking really just about the ORF fund.
Yeah, we prefer not to touch the other.
Yeah, I concur with that, and being on the technical committee when we approved option 2, we can stand by that, but certainly I think the 2 plus or whatever that we've talked about is very, very interesting. Thank you.
I just want to have one more addition that Maida mentioned in a previous meeting, that our annual fiscal year budget is running much better than being discussed lately. So we will be having the opportunity to bring to you the option to choose to fund again the operating reserve fund, even if it is depleted. So we're going to have enough cash to bring you the opportunity to fund it, probably half of it. But we need to close the fiscal year for you to approve to see that, and then do the transfers as needed. We may bring some options for you. Just additional information.
Great. Thank you.
Director Bailey.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And then just to go right behind what Director McCormick said, we sit on the technical committee together. I do want to be clear that on the slide it says we recommended option 2. What we actually recommended did not include the CARES credit. I just want to make that clear because it's in the public record, and someone may come back and say that that wasn't what we approved. So the 10 million was added, I think, by staff as a recommendation. The slide just indicated the full tech did that. I did have a question though, sort of just again, right back behind this ORF fund, which I think is confusing to the public. If it is a rate stabilization fund, we don't have to answer this right this moment, but is it possible to change the name so that we know what it is and the public can understand clearly what the fund is? Some of our comments have been about using the org's reserves, right? The funds we use to keep the org running, as opposed to these quote unquote rate stabilization funds. If there's a way to separate that, what we call it, I don't have an opinion on, but just some way that makes that very clear that this is a rate stabilization fund. It's being used for the purpose intended. We aren't taking money that we used to pay the lights to balance the rates. I think it just creates a little bit of confusion there. And then so that's more of a statement. My question is, so again, to be clear, the tech committee did vote unanimously for the 2%. I'm asking a separate question personally. If we went to 2.5 cents or 2.5 cents, would that be catastrophic? So again, understanding what the tech committee did agree to, and I'm on that committee. If we went to $2.50, would that be, what are the challenges?
Can you go?
I can I can go. No, I think the 2+ option kind of goes into that realm. I think how we message it is the question, right? So option 2, it would be our generation rate reduction option, which can be sustainable. The only thing is if you want to give more than 2 cents, 2.5 to or 2.67, or we call it 2+, I think we have to be careful. That's more of a temporary relief, right? It's not going to be a permanent rate reduction. So we would still stick with option 2. It's just that we would message as if we can give more than option 2 just for 1 year to help kind of make a dent into the gap with PG&E. Hope that makes sense.
It does, and thank you for that. I kind of support the 2+, but I'm just one of many. So thank you very much for that from staff.
Thank you. Do we have any additional directors? Oh, Madam Clerk, Pleasant Hill just showed up, our director from Pleasant Hill. Hi, Amanda.
Thank you.
I see Director Teal.
Hi. So Cal, obviously you spoke to it a little earlier and it's summarized in the documents presented, but just for the greater public, could you expand on the risks to exploring options 3, 4, and 5, both risks to MCE as an organization, near term, long term, and the risk to customers?
So the option 3, 4, 5, really looking at making dent into the price gap with PG&E, but on the con side and the downside is we are looking at options like dipping into our reserves, which there's a separate bucket which we help to kind of pay our bills, and we want to maintain certain targets. Again, we're still kind of within the policy targets even with option 4, but it's more aggressive. You're kind of giving out more cash out of the door. And option 5, it kind of gets into more of diluting our product, which we think is our value proposition, because most of the data show as if there is some sort of inelasticity, primarily maybe, customers value our product, which is greener. Again, historically, we are given sustainable, stable and, often lower rates, need not be every time. So going to option 3, 4, 5, again, comes at a cost. We're primarily looking at, giving relief, but might dilute our product, our value proposition. So that's the downside.
Great. Thank you.
Any additional? Yes.
I see Director Bellots.
Thanks so much. Cal, thanks for summarizing everything. My question is, all of the numbers that you used and all of the money that's going to be used to supplement this, is that taken into account the budget that we have right now, the numbers on that budget?
I can take that, Cal. So yes, it is, and we are going to discuss more the budget in the next item.
Okay, so my question is this: if we take option number 3 for 3 cents, I honestly think that we can take the budget and cut some fat out of that budget to make option 3 work without having a problem keeping it going for 2 years, 3 years or more. So I would like to look at that and see about keeping option 3 open, because I honestly think that we can make that work.
Director Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I know the question was asked, so I think it's important. I've watched this presentation now 5 times. Cal and Maida, if you can express the important of this conversation is really the reserve, right? Like, I think folks are thinking of the reserve still as a whole piece. And I think it's important also to understand the ORF and how it's built up. It's a different way than the reserve. So if you can just express that, and then I think to Director Balot's question, thank you, sorry. I think it helps to answer those type of questions. but I think that the missing part is how the ORF is different than the entire agency's reserve. And I think, Vicky, you just spoke to also the potential of us adding to that again this next year. I think just understanding that also helps to understand this conversation and how far we can go with the choices as well.
Maida, you've done this a couple times. Could you please explain the question?
Sure.
How do we fund the ORF?
Sure. And also I'd like to ask the IO team if they can pull up a slide for the budget presentation that talks about the ORF. It might be slide number 6. It's titled ORF. If you can please put this on the screen while I explain, I think that would be helpful for the directors. So the ORF was created in 2019 to as a rate stabilization fund, and we have been deposited from 2019 up to all those years, and now we have the amount of 70 million in that fund. So that is a fund that is for accounting purposes, and it's revenue not yet recognized. That is a very important distinction from our regular reserves. So when we talk about our liquidity, that fund, that amount is not included, but is in our overall reserves. So yes, that one. Thank you so much, IO team. So this is a visualization of the deposits from 2019, from the first year 2019 to 2020, and how we build up this fund up to now to 70 million. So also in the bottom of this slide in bold, I wrote that we may consider a policy amendment for possible future deposits for the current year 25-26. So this is also an option for this fund. If we are to use the fund, we do heavily use of this fund on the upcoming fiscal year, we could put some deposits back in case we have a situation where we also need to reduce our rates or we don't have a great fiscal year. Because using this accounting technique, we might not, if it's under the 70 million, we don't report a loss. And having an investment grade credit like we have today, it's of extremely importance for our business. Because of our investment grade, we post minimal collateral with diverse counterparties. We have better leverage to buy into our power contracts, and ultimately we can offer better rates to our customers because of our investment grade credit. So it is of utmost very important to have that as in our toolbox, so we can offer better rates, ultimately offer better rates to our customers. I hope I was clear, and please ask me more questions if can help clarify the difference between the ORF and the regular reserves.
That was great. Thank you, Maida. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I see Director Palmares.
Yeah, thank you. So I support the 2+ option. I'm also on the tech committee, and Don, your question was this question I also raised, like, can we get closer to 3 cents? And this to me seems like the most sensible solution, and kind of takes the place of what I was thinking, which was like a 2.5 cent solution. But this pretty much hits the mark. I just already knew that option 3 and onward was they were all bridges too far for me. So 2 made sense, and I think this 2+ really kind of steals the deal for me. So I'm in support of this. Thanks.
Thank you. Any additional directors?
We have Director Joanna.
When it says temp credit, what is that temp by time?
That is correct.
Well, how long is the time?
Until end of this year.
Okay. When does it go into effect?
It's gonna it's going to reduce our generation rates. So instead of saying permanent, when we reduce our generation rates, we're kind of splitting it into two buckets. The 2 cents would be the reduction we would like to sustain over a period of time. And the temporary is only for 1 year or less than a year, right? Just until end of this year, when PG&E is expected to revise their rates again. The 0.62 cents is applicable for this period, but our rates would be around 2 cents.
Thank you. Have we done a rate reduction in the past?
It's a good question. I think we looked.
Yes, we have. And this is actually one of the questions that we answered in the packet that's at everyone's seat. It's question number 1. And the answer is that in 2017, following our annual budget and rate setting review, we did reduce rates by an average of 3.7% for all customers. And then there was another narrow rate reduction in 2020. And this was when we were enrolling unincorporated Solano County. And there was some PCIA volatility from PG&E that we needed to account for during the enrollment cycle.
Well, what goes down must come up, right? So how much did it go up after it reduced? Where's that number?
Yeah, we actually have a slide on that in the current presentation. Let's see if we can find it. I think it's slide 15.
That is correct.
There we go.
Yeah. So I think 2020, there's an increase. Again, we are looking at 2022 seems like there is a dip from 21 to 22. Again, the revision in rates reflects the market conditions, right? From 2020, 2022 to 2023, I think the commodity prices for energy kind of shot up. I think you can see even PG&E is in line with MCE in 2023. So there is an increase. It's not a reflection of we did any reduction for a temporary reduction. I think it's more so, at least the chart is showing a reflection of market conditions. And hence the rate kind of went up from 2022 to 2023. And it kind of stabilized from that time onward.
Thanks, Cal. Can you go back? You said something interesting regarding PG&E, why it went up. Can you repeat what you just said?
So PG&E rates tend to be volatile. You can see, again, 21 to 2022, there's a big swing in PG&E rates. And it can be multiple factors. It tells me that in 2021, their rates were lower. Probably it led to under recovery from their customers. So they maintain a balancing account. And then in 2022, when our MCE rates slightly went down, but PG&E went really up. So either they were not able to manage their portfolio better, they had open positions, which probably led to market exposure, or under recovery in 2021, right? They recovered less from the customers based on their rates than their costs are.
But so I'm going to ask a naive question. Doesn't MCE receive their energy from alternate sources? So why would it cost us more or similar to what PG&E is paying if they're two different sources? Resources, I mean.
Yeah, I think it's all market based, right? At the end of the day, PG&E is out in the market procuring. They do have certain generation they own. They do manage portfolio which belongs to departed customers. Hence there is PCIA. But at the end of the day, even PG&E is out in the market to procure energy. What differentiates us from them is a value proposition of, I think we try to be more sustainable in our power content label compared to PG&E. But otherwise, the commodity in general, if you go into the market and procure, there can be terms and conditions we agree to, but we are all out there trying to procure at reasonable prices.
I understand what you're saying. It's just the optics look really. I candidly wouldn't agree with that argument. I understand where you're coming from, but it looks very. It doesn't back up what you're saying is what I'm saying. It looks like we're we're chasing PG&E because PG&E is going up. So we said, well, let's just go up too. Let's increase as well. That's kind of the optics that I get from it.
Gotcha.
But again,
Probably not, right? I think if you see from 21 to 22, again, there may be multiple factors at play. We are hypothesizing here, but most probable causes, PG&E shot up. We did not try to keep up with PG&E. In fact, we went slightly lower in that year. But the next year, from 2022 to 2023, I think we all caught up, right? But we're not trying to chase. And we can see from 23 to 24 again, PG&E rates were again very volatile. They went higher, a lot higher than where MCE rates are, where in 2024. And again, in 2025, they came down by over 2 cents, but we held steady, right? I think it kind of shows me that we are trying our best to hedge, upfront to provide that rate stability to our customers. Right? Not really chasing PG&E rates.
would you agree that 2020 to 2023 was an anomaly because of COVID?
I would say, yeah, a lot happened in that time period. Yeah, there is supply chain issues or whatnot. Commodity prices shot up. Even polar vortex happened, sending the market prices really crazy. Definitely a volatile period.
Right. Thank you, Manager.
Any other directors? Yeah, I'm gonna move back up. All right. Everyone had that was interested in asking the question or making a comment here in Concord. We're gonna move over to San Rafael. Madam Clerk, if you can call on any directors for me that may have a question or comment.
Director Kohler?
Yeah, thank you very much. I have a couple of questions. One is with the option 2.5. It's my understanding the rate decrease would occur April 1st. So why wouldn't we go through March 31st, 2027 to say we're doing a year relief versus 9 months? I mean, I think along with being a messaging problem, I think that's kind of, it's not really, I think we'd be better off, but can I ask a question? Why did we come up with that, what appears to be 9 months?
I think the thinking was, PG&E revises rates definitely end of the year. I mean, starting of next year, but they go through a trigger mechanism. If they are over or under by 4%, they can increase or decrease the rates within a year. But the natural point where you would definitely see a revision from PG&E would be, December or January 1st, 2027. That was a thinking, Director, but doesn't mean that we can't rule out extending.
Yeah, it just seems to me that if we're doing this for our customers, we ought to be really looking at, and I think this was Director Painter's suggestion. I wasn't at the meeting, but I think we ought to look at a full year if we want to do this kind of relief. And I think that sends a good message to our customers. But I also have another question that I don't want to throw a monkey wrench into the works, but a couple of things. So in looking at, we have 2 reserve funds. We have the ORF, which is the Rate Stabilization Fund, and we also have our general reserves, which are, based on my reading of the staff report, our policy is 60% in reserves and 240 days liquidity. And right now, at least maybe I didn't read the report correctly, it says we're at 109% in liquidity at 274 days right now. And I wonder if there's a possibility of, what this looks like is even at the 2+, which I do like that option, is you're heavily kind of wiping out the rate stabilization fund. And I'm wondering if there could be a little bit of a mix there. So we're not necessarily doing that. And then this is the real kicker, so I'm sorry about the monkey wrench at this last minute. But I'm wondering if we could consider the option 3 for a year with that kind of a mix. So we're not totally wiping out the full ORF, or all we call it, the operating reserve fund, the rate stabilization fund, and taking some out of reserves. And I'm saying only for a year because I have communicated with our COO, and he pointed out what you just pointed out, Mayura, that, our credit rating agencies look at us. But I think if we were doing something like this for a year, we're not looking at 3-year window where we don't know what's going to happen. And so I'm kind of wondering if that's something for consideration, but I don't want this meeting to go on forever. And it's just something that I really thought about. And I think, if somebody were to say, what would you have to have? I would definitely vote for the 2+, but I would say let's do that for a whole year. But I'm just throwing out the consideration of maybe option 3 for a year and not totally wiping out the rate stabilization fund and taking a little bit out of our typical reserves. So sorry about the monkey wrench.
Director Sackett?
My question is did the technical committee consider the 2+? And if not, how did that come up?
Yeah, I can explain the process and the timing on that. The budget workshop number 2 is where the 2+ idea came from. And we have to give credit to Director Painter for suggesting it at the end of the workshop. And several other folks in the room agreed that sounded like it was worth considering. The timing didn't allow that idea to be incorporated into our technical committee discussion, just because the way the dates were. We've had so many meetings. So that wasn't presented at TechCom. The idea was presented. There was some discussion about getting somewhere between 2 and 3. And so we had a sense, based on all the feedback that we've heard, that there would be an interest in another option. So fortunately, we have an amazing team of staff that were able to really hustle at the last minute and pull together a 2.5 scenario to present tonight, because we had a sense that would be of interest.
Director Darling and then Director Perret, followed by Director Wilkins.
Thank you. And thank you for going over and over this with us. It's really been helped me really understand what's going on. One of the things that we talked about at the XCOM that was important to people is our impression based on past experiences that our customers are relatively inelastic, that they stick with the value proposition of MCE. One of the things I would want to see, however we dealt with the rate structure, is reporting back on a regular basis so that we can track customer retention. And I know Zay thinks about this every night before he goes to bed, but if you could share that one with us. I do like the 2+ for the reason that the 10 million is now targeted at our customers that are most likely to be sensitive to price, the people at the lower end of the economic scale, for whom a $10 or a $20 credit is much more impactful on their budget. But I wanted to talk about the 0.62 temporary credit and why that's sunsetting at the end of December. As I understand it, that's the time where PG&E is likely to be increasing their PCIA. And in our messaging, if we put that this is a temporary credit to offset PG&E's PCIA impact on us, my perception is that would add some not the normal ratepayer, but people would be more aware of the impact of the PCIA if we tie it to that. And I just wanted to double check that understanding.
And maybe if we could go to slide 27, we'll have a good visual on what we expect to happen with the PCIA. The PCIA is extremely high for our customers right now because PG&E has been allowed to retroactively recover rates from the past, all bundled, and actually 2 years worth of under recovered rates that they're claiming are being all pushed into this 1 year. And they have not been given the authority to continue it after the calendar year. So that is why we thought the board might want to sunset the temporary credit at the end of the calendar year. This chart shows where we expect PG&E's rates to go. Theirs is the orange line there, and you can see how their rate, and this is their gen rate plus the PCIA combined, has dropped down very dramatically right now. But in 2027, we expect it to jump back up. Maida, do you want to say any more about this slide? Have I described it adequately?
I think you described it very well, Dawn. There's just one thing that I am thinking about what Director Collard just talked about it, is that in option 3, the 67 million there, we haven't put the CARES, an amount for CARES credit. So, and this is just what we added this today. So I'm thinking here, and we have not added there. So if we were to add that, that would be a loss on that year, on the option 3.
Okay, and then my other question is, this is all predicated on our prediction of the cost of energy for next year and what we expect to be able to do. If we do see changes in the cost of energy that are not advantageous, if the cost of energy goes back up again next year, how would we likely deal with that? Would we, because if we are using our rate stabilization fund, do we end up using our regular reserve if we end up having increased costs for our energy procurement?
We do have a little bit of contingency, but yes, if things swing the other way, we potentially, yes.
And so
Next year or in any year, especially how volatility is. So it's, yeah.
We've seen everything in the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we actually have a good example of that. Just last year, you all might remember when we were doing our budget setting, we came to you all and we said, the energy prices are extremely high right now. We need to increase the energy budget by over $100 million. This was at the beginning of 2025. And so that was incorporated into the budget. And it showed up in our audited results, but we had talked about it multiple times. We also do mid-year pro forma updates to let you all know what we're seeing in the market. And in some cases, we've adjusted the budget mid-year when we've seen a lot of volatility.
Okay. And so similar to customer retention, we could ask to have the report back on overall budget, especially the energy procurement side of things, to make sure that we are not dipping dangerously down into our reserve. So I think where I come out on this, I like the 2+ because I like that it includes the targeting for our most vulnerable, and that it's tying the temporary credit directly to the PCIA, and will help smooth customers' bills from this big increase this year. And so that's where I am right now.
Director Darling, this is Vic, and just to clarifying a statement, we will not automatically dip into reserves without coming to the board. So we will give you definitely an update about what markets are doing that may be significantly different, or like a maybe elongated summer heat wave or something like that. But we're not on autopilot to or whatever.
No, I figured that. I just wanted to make sure that we talked about it. So
yeah, thank you.
I know Zay sleeps or wakes up at night thinking about his customers, and I know you have the energy costs on my mind. So
yeah, I actually don't sleep, and I only think about our customers. But there should be a printed overview of that participation rate. And if not, I'll make sure to get you one.
Yes, it is here, but I don't know if everyone's seen it. It might be at the bottom of your the list of questions that you have in front of you ends with this great chart that shows the opt-out rate. And this was requested in the budget workshop. So Zay was kind enough to pull it together for us. And we can provide it on a regular basis going into the year.
Director Perret?
Yeah, just a question on the proposed CARES credit. So currently the CARES credit, we're spending 5 million, is that correct? So this is doubling that. Are we envisioning additional customers will need CARES credit because of economic situation, or are we doubling the amount in which they would get, or both?
We see a combination of both. So the original allotment of $10 million that we were funded also had the ramp up period for enrollment. And then we got to kind of a plateau in that enrollment. And so if we were to continue it with the customers that we have, we already know that that run rate is carrying through over 5 million for 6 months. In addition, we do anticipate that with the base services charge that we will see an increase in low usage non-care customers requiring additional support and help, and for more enrollment or attempted enrollment into the care program.
And for customers that sign up for CARES, are they automatically enrolled, or is it opt-in? Do they have to call, fill out paperwork, et cetera, to get the additional credit?
It is an active enrollment.
Have we thought about having that be automatic and kind of looked at what the costs would be involved in that?
Yeah, we do have automatic enrollment for our AMP customers that are enrolled, as those are the most vulnerable and they've already shown active involvement in a program. We can look at automatic enrollment. One thing that we did note with our first 2 runs with CARES credit was that there are customers that are care customers that don't necessarily want or require the support or help. And we have had customers that have enrolled, got up to date, and felt that they could then leave the program and be able to take care of it themselves. So just another.
Great. I think it's fantastic that we've offered this. I strongly support us continuing it. I support the doubling of it as proposed, and 2 and 2+. I think the more we can streamline enrollment, the better. That's less of a burden on staff. It's less of a burden on customers who are our most vulnerable and lowest income customers. So the more we can streamline that, I think the better. If it can be automatic, great. If there's something in between that can be a solve that supports staff and supports customers, I think that's great as well. I'm also leaning, as Director Darling, I think well said, towards the 2+. I think that's a great idea from Director Painter and others who were able to attend the second budget workshop. But if we were to go towards a 3, I would want to make sure that we're retaining that 10 million in the proposed CARES credit. So, and figuring out, how to cover that in the budget. So, thank you.
Director Wilkinson?
Thanks, Jessica. Can we go to slide 3, if that's possible? So I just wanted to confirm some of the data here, because this table seems to be implying in 2025 that we had a 7%, that we were 7% higher than PG&E. But when I look at the rate comparison sheets, we're only about 1.5% higher. So I was just wondering where that data has come from. And those rate comparison sheets are as of October 2025. And that's a time of use C rate. And so I'm just curious where those numbers came from, because it is important. I will have your answer, but it is important because my understanding is that historically we've only been sort of 1 or 2% max spread to PG&E. And so these numbers we're looking at for the current year are a significant outlier, but I'm curious where those 2025 rates come from.
So 2025, the comparison here is 2025 to 2026 PG&Es. I think what the fair comparison is in the joint rate mailer on the websites, which is 2025 MCE light green to 2025
Okay.
PG&E.
Okay, so that's a really weird
Yeah. So I think the
comparison.
point, I think we got 2025 in here, not to compare against PG&E. I know we got the percentages and the differences, more so to kind of see how the current, bills are for MCE customers compared to 2025 as a data point.
Okay. Okay, so that makes so again, my first point is I think for me important, which is that we've never seen a spread like this before. So I have some requests at the end, but my sense here is that I do not understand why we would not be using our operating reserve in full when we have this much of a rate spread against PG&E is pretty dramatic. And to not use that operating reserve, which is specifically for rate stabilization in difficult years, I don't know why we wouldn't use that, particularly when Maida is saying that we will be replenishing that reserve with $30 million likely for the following year. So I'd be really disappointed for ratepayers if we're not able to do that much. I would go further. I would be on option 4, and I'd even want to discuss option 5 because whilst we're focusing on this is money being spent on some of this money is being spent on attributes. I understand that some of it is locked in, some of it is not, and I don't know that that's money that is being usefully spent. I appreciate that some board members are concerned about their climate action plans, but I'd also love to hear from staff about the impact on all of our climate action plans when we move to hourly accounting, because I think we'll all be in trouble, and that will happen in 2027. So this is, for me, the attributes are something that we should be looking at seriously to save money now, and that's where we could be saving money. I do have one question about the CARES credit, which is we're suggesting on your option 2.5, or even I think 2.5, that we're going to put 10 million into the into the CARES credit instead of the 5 million which we supplement right now. My understanding, and I'd love to know this from Zay, is that only captures about 3% of customers, correct? There's only about 3% of customers that qualify for CARES credits?
No. So all of our care customers would qualify for CARES credit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Only 3% of our customers qualify for CARES credits, roughly. How many accounts do we have that qualify for CARES?
That's what you're saying. I'd have to pull it up to get the exact number. But it is, we have over 95,000 customers that are care customers currently.
So 95. So we have 1 in 6 customers are CARES customers?
Correct. Care customer.
Okay, and you're expecting that to expand?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm expecting it to go back up to its 107 to 110,000 amount that it's been in the past.
Okay, so I feel better about that because that's a more expanded capture of low-income people. I still worry there are people above that level. I mean, there just are in the world that we're living in right now, where everybody's tight for cash and having to make choices. I think there are people above that as well. So I support that 10 million on the basis of what you've just explained, but I think we should be working as hard as possible to get rates down for customers across the board. So I think we should be using up our operating reserve. And again, I would think we can go further because, as Maida's explained in her presentations, in all of these scenarios, we will meet our operating reserve and our days of cash on hand targets. And so I'm not sure what we're holding back on here, particularly as other CCAs are being much more aggressive than us and matching PG&E, and we're nowhere close. So I think we need to be doing the most that we possibly can for customers. Just following up on Cindy's comments, I do think that we very closely need to track customers and customer exits. And I saw the chart that you'd put together, but I think we really need to be seeing what we're losing in terms of number of customers and amount of load. Because whereas I understand that going back to PG&E puts people on a variable rate for 6 months, that variable rate right now is less than than what customers are paying that are on fixed rates in terms of the market rate for the last period. And so I think we need to be concerned about customer exit. I think we need to track that really aggressively, and that the board needs to look at that and have a plan in place if we do start to lose significant load, particularly in relation to commercial customers. And then the other points I wanted to make, which I think is in line with what Vicken is saying, is that we're essentially we're giving a budget for spending on attributes, and that the management would have to come back if they needed to exceed that ceiling for any reason. And so I do think any significant deviation from budget going forward, we should have a formal budget amendment in the middle of the year, which I don't think we've done in the past, so that the board is fully on board with any decisions that management is making on the procurement side. Thank you.
And I just want to note that future renditions of the participation will have load. We just weren't able to adjust that in that quick of a time.
Okay, thanks, Hay.
We have Director Colloway and then Director Beckman.
I just wanted to let everyone know that I did get 3 letters in the past week from constituents who plan on leaving MCE. So,
Director Beckman.
Thank you. Couple questions for my own clarification here. How is it that some of the options under recover costs but still meet the revenue sufficiency requirement?
Yeah. So if we go to that slide, I think the one slide before this, slide 6. Yeah. So in this, I think we can see the column 4 under recovery. I think our operating reserve fund is only 70 million. So right at option 3, without CARES credit, we almost exhaust operating reserve fund. In option 4, it's a 94 million under recovery, which is more than our operating reserve fund by 24 million. And that 24 million comes from reserve back funding. In other sense, we would be taking some money out of reserves without impacting our operating reserve policy, right? So we can, at least based on current projections, we can get up to 24 million to make up for that under recovery in that option. And then option 5, under recovery would be 119 million. So on top of taking some money from reserves, we also need to lower our clean energy procurement targets. That would unlock roughly, I think, 70 to 20 million. Right? Those are the sources where we can make up that under recovery. That makes sense.
Thank you. And I was just asking primarily in relation to on page, doesn't have a page number, but in the staff report where it discussed the background on this issue, it sets out our 6 rate design guidelines, but then it says afterwards that one of those guidelines being revenue sufficiency. Revenue sufficiency cannot be compromised. But so it sounds like what you're saying is that if there is sufficient reserves to backfill, then it is considered to be fulfilling that revenue sufficiency. Is that correct?
It's a balancing kind of act we are trying to do, Director. In one side, we have principles, obviously for any business to be sustainable, cost sets the floor. But I think given this year, how challenging it is, if you were to dip below our cost, what are the sources we can pull the money from, at least for this year, without impacting our other policy targets? Yeah, that statement is fair and accurate for long-term sustainability. It's just for this year, what else we can do? Where can we get additional money to help give our customers some relief?
Okay. Maybe I'm just reading the staff report too black and white, but what I'm seeing here is revenue sufficiency, rates should cover all expenses, and then below that, revenue sufficiency cannot be compromised. All the other rate design guidelines are a give and take, except for revenue sufficiency, but it sounds like maybe I'm just reading that a little too literally. All right, thank you.
Yeah, right now. We're going beyond that in trying to balance cost on one side, being competitive, but also being sustainable, from where else we can source the money from.
Yes, understood. Thank you. And then another clarifying question. So as I believe it was maybe Director Kohler pointed out, our revenue goal is 60%, but excuse me, our reserve goal is 60%, but we're at 109%. Am I understanding correctly that there is concern that if we were to drop closer to but still above our 60% goal, that there could be a risk to our credit rating?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Those are all my questions for now. Thank you.
Director Andre?
Great, thank you. Follow up on that question, Maida, can you pull up the slide where it shows our reserves and the days of cash on hand?
Sure. IO team, this is from the budget presentation. Is that the budget presentation, Director, on there? Which slide would you like?
It's, yeah, page 99 on the PDF.
I think it may be of this rates slide deck, slide 29. Let's see if I'm.
Yeah, slide 29.
Is that the one you had in mind?
Is there days of cash on hand, the next slide?
So this one has this, the bars.
I think that is the budget presentation.
Okay, well, it's page 99 of the board packet, agenda packet, if you want to pull that up. Page, actually 101 of the agenda, board agenda packet.
So while I pull this, I want to mention a couple important items here. So one, our projections are based on current market costs. So if the market shifts one way or another, things might change. The other is that our reserves that the reserves and liquidity, our reserve graph where we hit 109%, that is if we don't deposit anything into our ORF. So if we take, again, some funds and deposit into our ORF, then our liquidity will change for the current fiscal year. So if we, in the current fiscal year, we take funds and put into our ORF, our liquidity, our day cash on hand is also going to be reduced. Not on our reserves, but our liquidity table.
Okay, so yes, so this is a slide. I mean, I just want to point out that in 24-25, we were at 218 days of cash on hand. And so it's going up as of the end of this year, fiscal 25-26, to above our target. It's going to be 274 projected, and the target is 240 days. So there is room in our cash and investments to supplement any rate relief that we want to give to customers above and beyond the rate stabilization plan. And even under option 5, which is the far right part of the graph, we would still be at 242 days of liquidity or cash days on hand. And so, this signals to me that, one, we didn't get downgraded because we were 1 year, we were at 218 days. So I don't think the credit rating is at risk. We're just not at risk. And if you scroll up 2 slides, it's the same story for our reserve targets. We were at 84%. If you go up 2 slides from this, slide 29, we were at 84% in fiscal 24-25, projected to go to 109% of target. And in option 5, we will end up at 111% of our target. So again, I don't think dipping into a small portion of our reserves is going to put this agency, is not going to jeopardize the long-term sustainability of this agency from a financial perspective. And also, I'd like to remind everyone, the Treasurer's report was just circulated. We have $487 million of cash and investments on hand. And so this is ratepayer money. And I don't understand, beyond maintaining our credit rating, which we have plenty of cash to do, I don't understand why we are not providing our customers with as much rate relief as possible. I think affordability is a big issue. I think that there are people beyond CARES customers who are struggling and are looking for some rate relief. I am very concerned that if we don't cut rates by a significant amount to close the gap with PG&E, I do think that we will start to see customers opting out, and that I think would lead to greater problems because a lot of our energy costs are fixed, and we can't necessarily adjust or reduce our energy costs depending on how much load we're losing. So I do agree that we need to be keeping an eye on not just customer opt-outs, but definitely how much load we're losing in terms of customer attrition. I do want to point out also that many of our CCA peers have cut very deeply so that their all-in costs to customers are equal to or below PG&E. I mean, I think this is a time that if we were going to use our rate stabilization fund, that this is the time to use it. So I would be a proponent of using the full rate stabilization fund, and then whatever the quote temporary portion of, I am a proponent of going to option 5 and making that the extra penny. I believe option 3 is 3-cent reduction. And I do think that that is sustainable, and that would use 100% of the rate stabilization fund. And then we could go to option 5, which I believe is an incremental 1 cent above the 3 cents, and that could be temporary. And that would allow us to use 30 million. If I'm looking at the numbers, correct, Maida, under option 5, we would use $30 million of our cash reserves. Is that correct, under option 5?
So Director Andrea, thank you for pointing out those items. Those are really good items for discussion. So a couple points here. One, we on that graph, we don't have any amount for CARES credit. So if we add that, we are going to reduce that amount for a like amount. And the other item is that we would report a loss on that year, and we haven't done that in many years. So that we have not reached the reserve limits. We are still on the reserve limit. That would be correct, but we would report a loss, which we have not done in recent years. And also the 240 days is not the ceiling, it's the floor. So this is also a very important point for us.
I understand the 240 is a target. Yeah, but I'm just pointing out that we were not at 240 in fiscal 24-25.
That is correct.
That
is correct.
It's a target. It's an internal target for us.
Yes, that is correct. And but we would be reporting a loss in our books. And also, I want to point out the other CCAs that have chosen to reduce their rates dramatically. They follow, some of them follow PG&E's rates, which means when PG&E's rates increase, they increase very close to it. And then when PG&E's decrease, they decrease. So that's why they have more cash, and that's how they use their operations. And some of them don't have the credit rating that we have. Those are all other points for discussion.
Yeah, and I would like to point out that in fiscal 24-25, we did have an operating loss. We didn't have a change in we had a positive change in net position, but we did have an operating loss in fiscal 24-25.
That is correct.
Okay.
The rating agencies, they look at the change in net position, not the operating loss. That is correct.
Yeah. So, my view is that there is room to cut. And I do think that, if this is the time to use or dip into our rate stabilization funds and provide rate relief for all of our customers, I think this would be the time to do it. And I also want to note that even if we go to option 5, which is, what this organization, the best that this organization can do, we will still be $12 above PG&E. And we would still be, the gap is still pretty substantial. It will be larger still than any historical gap that MCE has had with PG&E. And so I think that still opens up the risk that our customers are still unsatisfied with the rate cut, and they may decide to leave. But I think we really need to focus on customer retention, because I think once people leave, it's going to be much more difficult to get people to opt back in. So I think we need to make a substantial move in order to retain our customers, because I think once people start leaving, it's going to be a very difficult, it's going to be another added challenge trying to get people back. Thanks.
Director Gulati?
Yes, thank you so much. And I really want to appreciate the workshops that we had for like the two of them for, excuse me, for the budget. They were very helpful. So I'm kind of like lean towards option 2+ as well. My community in District 1 in San Rafael, it has the density of Manhattan in New York, and is one of the most underserved communities. So for me, it's very important that the very low income households benefit from good rates. When I'm looking at the average monthly bill between option 2 and 4, there is a difference of $6 for the monthly bill. So I feel that is pretty reasonable. And I think it's important to continue having our liquidity in case, we are like in a market where it's constantly changing. So yeah, I like to see, our financials, that they are like strong and solid to continue with our goals for our climate actions in our cities. Thank you.
Director Hoffman?
Thank you. And thank you for the budget workshops, at least the one that I was able to attend. That was enormously helpful for a first year MCE director. And it's always helpful to be one of the last directors to speak. So to summarize what I've heard, which is always great. And so, the summary, I think, is that MCE has the luxury of having a lot of a great financial stability and a great, a great finance. Clearly, I don't think anybody can disagree that we have a great luxury of a lot of huge, stable cash to rely on. And so I think as I look at the chart and what we just went through and what we just heard, is that I don't see a reason not to go aggressively with one of the options of 3 or 4. And when I look at, our customers, and when you do it, reducing the rates over a 12-month period, this is, hundreds of dollars back into our ratepayers' pockets, and absolutely support the MCE CARES program. And, when you look at also the smoothing out the rates for our customers, I don't know how we can responsibly, as elected officials, tell the people that we represent that we're not aggressively using the reserves that, is really their money, their reserves, to help stabilize their payments. And I think we also need to also recognize that this is not a typical customer relationship. There's a lot of stickiness in how they become our customers and how they can move from being our customer to PG&E's customers. There's only 2 customer relationships. It's not like they can move and decide not to be, they're going to go off grid. They're either our customers or PG&E's customers, and they can't easily move back and forth. There's penalties for moving, right? They have to pay a small fee, but they've got to pay a penalty for moving, and then they can't easily move back and forth. So we can't glibly say, well, we're going to, how, our customers are going to leave, or what's our customer relationship, or, customers are going to come and go. Like, that's not what happens. It's a different type of relationship that we have with our customers. So we have to respect that relationship, and we have to respect that difference. That's a relationship that we have to protect and acknowledge that. So I lean more toward being aggressive in protecting our ratepayers and using our reserve for lowering their costs this year. I think we have ample assets to do that this year. It's not going to, as this conversation has made it abundantly clear, I think it should to everybody in this room. It's not going to affect our credit rating this year. It shouldn't. And if it does, if some, as Myra said, if there is some catastrophic event that changes the landscape, then I would expect we would have an immediate notice to our board and that we would address that and that we need to change course. But otherwise, I would move forward with an aggressive action this year. And we would maybe take different course of action next year. That would be the responsible course of action, and that's what I would support.
Director Wilkinson and then Director Beckman.
I'm sorry, I just had an additional question for Zay because I'm struggling with the CARES credit, which I think is a super important component for all of us. So you'd said we had 100,000 customers receiving CARES, correct?
No, we have 100,000 CARE customers. We do not have 100,000 customers receiving MCE CARES credit. That's the distinction.
Explain that.
So the CARE program is a statewide program that is managed by PG&E, and customers see a total bill relief on their PG&E side of the bill. That enrollment makes customers eligible for the MCE CARES credit, which is an additional credit of $20 per month on top of the up to 35% per month that they get in discounts on their monthly bill.
Right. So how many of our customers are receiving our $5 million that we spend currently?
Currently, we are at just about 5,200 customers.
So that's tiny. So we're giving $10 million to 5,200 customers out of 600,000?
No, that was $5 million over the course of the last.
Yeah, but you're proposing 10 million in this coming year.
Yes, because we expect to
That makes no sense.
increase the enrollment of the program.
Okay, on that basis, which is completely different, that's a tiny number of customers receiving enormous subsidy. And we should be spreading that amongst everybody, that extra 5 million. That doesn't make any sense to me. There's so many people above that threshold that are in difficulty. Anyway, just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if we could recall to the first version of CARES credit, it was $10 per month. The board voted to double that and increase it to 20, and to expand it in that fashion. I'm more than happy to look at supplying even more.
Director Beckman.
Thank you. There's two types of risk that I'm grappling with here that we've touched on in discussion, but I'm still not clear on. One is the risk of losing customers, and the other is the risk of losing our credit rating. And it's clear that there's, that the folks in the room don't all see eye to eye on where those risks fall. And I'm wondering if staff could maybe just walk me through their perception of these risks. I'm trying to understand, one, to the extent that we're not particularly concerned about losing customers despite having rates, potentially $21 or $18 above PG&E. Can you help me understand what that confidence is based off of? And then two, I understand from staff that there's concern that if we were to drop below our current 109% reserve and get closer towards our 60% reserve target, that there's risk to our credit rating. I understand we have financial expertise on staff. We have financial expertise among board members. Reasonable minds can differ. I am not a finance professional. I'd just like to understand a little bit better, sort of where these perspectives are coming from and how and why they might differ.
I can start with the general variations when customers call in to opt out or have concerns about their bill, their differentiation, and also those that are in the CARES credit. And for this last year, especially with the widespread differentiation in vintages for PCIA, we have had customers that are above the $12 or $14 in comparison to PG&E rates. And the customers that have stayed and that we have retained have done so because of our value statement and because of our renewable percentage in comparison to PG&E. And I think that that was one of the items that the technical committee recognized in their deliberations was that intrinsic value and the value of that value in comparison to rate comparisons. And also recognizing that at the option 2, with the CARES credit, those most vulnerable customers, those that are calling in with the most need, would be at full parity, and with the 2+, they would be saving $3 per month with MCE in comparison to PG&E. So I think that that's
that's before the PCIA, correct?
No. So when we look at 2 as it's shown on the screen right now, so a customer that is on CARES credit, they'd be $1 above. And if the board was to approve the 2+, then they would actually have a savings of $3 for those particular customers.
Yeah, one other slide that might be helpful to help with this question is on the rates presentation, slide number 15. And we pulled this slide together, and Cal may want to speak to it as well, but it shows the level of participation among MCE customers over time from 2013 until 2025. And you can see in the bars, kind of representing each year, what our level of participation was while our rates were, you can see how our rates differed from PG&E's rates. And in the past, we have not seen an impact in customer retention, customer elasticity. And I think this is partly due to what Zay just said, the value proposition. There is a very big difference between the renewable content of MCE's portfolio and PG&E's portfolio. Another factor is the transitional bundled rate that PG&E requires customers to go on to for 6 months. I think that's important for our residential customers, but probably even more important for our commercial customers, because it can have a very big impact and create a lot of uncertainty on their costs for a 6-month period. So that is what gives us a sense of what we might see going forward, but we don't have the crystal ball. So we're just sharing the data, and you can draw your own conclusions from that.
I just would add 2 more things. One is that I don't think Zay mentioned it today yet, but several of our customers are also on auto pay. So I think for many of them, if they're not as price sensitive and they are on auto pay, the rate differential isn't as important to them and doesn't invoke action. And also, of course, switching out of MCE to PG&E takes action. And we just typically, like Dawn said, don't see a lot of switching inertia when there are differentials between the costs.
Thanks. And then as to the credit rating, if you wouldn't mind.
So the credit rating piece. So all of our negotiations with our counterparties, they are based on our credit rating and their credit rating. So who is going to post collateral at which point of the contract. So because of the strong credit rating that we have, we hardly ever have to post any collateral with counterparties, and that give us a tremendous leverage in negotiating those contracts. If we were to post collateral with counterparties, that would have a severe fiscal impact for us. So we would have to post either our cash or letter of credit and pay for that. So because of our rating, we hardly ever have to do any of that. also with the ISO. So with the ISO, we have collateral posted in there, and we have the ability to, they give us, they call estimated liability. They calculate how much we need to post and whatnot, and that is based on our credit rating. So if you remember that about a year ago, we got an upgrade from Fitch. So I got an email from Kaiser say we'll give you more credit within that.
Thank you. Sorry. I understand the importance and the benefit of having the best credit rating we can. My question is, to the extent that different folks in this discussion may have different perceptions of the potential risk to our credit rating for dropping below 109%, cash on hand reserves when our target is 60%. I'm trying to understand what the differing perceptions of risk are.
So the 60% of our reserves, but when you see the 100%, it's hitting that 60%, right? So that's one piece. So it's a moving target. If we have higher expenses, it moves around. So there are a few pieces. They don't only look at that. They look at how much cash we have. So, for example, some other CCAs, they have been able to reduce their rates using their reserves. As Director Andrea mentioned, we have around under 400 of reserves. Those CCAs, they had almost doubled in that, and they are dipping into that. Their credit rating is not as strong as ours also. So for the rating agencies, it's a balance of everything, of how much liquidity we have, how much reserves we have, how is our customer base. Also, they take into consideration our service area. How is our service area, our uncollectibles? So it's a whole piece of all those different things. So it's not only that. But if we were to report a loss in our changing net position, most likely that would put us on credit watch. So that is, and then we would have to know what the consequences are of that. It's not that we're going to have to, it's just we need to know the consequences of that. And be prepared for it.
Thank you.
And I just want,
Go ahead, Zay.
sorry, thank you. I just want to make a clarifying notice for CARES credit for Director Wilkinson. We currently have 5,000 customers in the program because we have gone to the end of funding. So at the peak, we had 30,000, and for the majority of the program, we had 20,000. So once we recognized that we were going to run out of funding prior to the end of the fiscal year, we limited it to customers that had not yet received at least 12 months of funding within the program. So that's why we're at 5,000. So apologies for any confusion there.
Okay, so that just means even at the peak of the program, that was covering about 3% of customers, which was my original guess.
Madam Clerk, do we have, actually, I'm going to turn it over to, let's see, Napa counties and cities. They had their hand up a while. So let's turn it over to the directors there.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I did have my hand up, and this has been a really good conversation. It's a very complicated issue. I was raising my hand in an attempt to try to bring a motion forward, but I also just realized you haven't taken public comment. So I'll reserve that until you go through that piece. But when you're prepared, perhaps you can circle back, and I would be happy to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you. We'll go into public comment. We currently have no members of the audience here in Concord, or no members of the public. Do we have any members of the public that would like to make public comment in San Rafael?
We do. We have a member of the public, Nick Pappas.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening, folks. Nick Pappas, MCE customer in San Anselmo. So I also work in energy policy, and something we often do is we find ourselves a bit in the clouds. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves to be grounded in the experience that actual customers, you might call them constituents, have. So when I hear this discussion and I hear $21 a month on the average bill, that's about $250 a year. That's a really big number. And I think if you were to find yourself in this grounding exercise, imagining yourself walking through some of the middle or lower middle income parts of your districts, your communities, and asking people, would you rather stick with MCE or save $250 this year? I think their answer would be, what's MCE? You know, I don't think your constituents know or care. And I think this whole discussion hinges on this hypothesis around stickiness. I really strongly support a conservative approach that keeps MCE's reserves and finances strong. That's really important long term. But if you ever had a use for a rainy day fund, it's a year like this where you have a double header in under collections from PG&E. I think if you were imagining yourself in that situation, walking around your communities, asking those folks, hey, how do you feel about our rates? And they find out that their neighbors who stuck with PG&E save $250. They might be asking you, what kind of cost-cutting measures did you explore? Did you make sure your programs were really lean, really effective? Did you look at overhead inside the agency? Did you make sure that all of your investments in clean energy were really effective? I think we're going to come back to a discussion around attributes later in the next item, and I'll just preview that. There's some really deeply ineffective, deeply problematic purchases, $54 million planned for the 26-27 budget of attributes. I just want to talk about a couple theses on stickiness. I do agree electric customers are sticky. I think, as Myra said, that people don't know. If they're on auto pay, they don't know. And I think that's a bad reason to let them pay more money that they didn't know when they trusted you guys to be watching costs. The environmental proposition. Yes, MCE has more renewable energy. Your carbon emissions are almost identical to PG&E's in 2024. They're almost identical, within 1% of what an equivalent gas plant would be. Transitional bundled service. Really complicated. I was trying to look it up before this. I think transitional bundled service has been more expensive historically. We're at a period of very low market prices. So that means transitional bundled service, which follows market prices, I think may be cheaper than both MCE and PG&E right now. That may not hold through the summer, but I think that's not as robust as you guys might think. So this is a really hard issue. I don't envy you all. But I really think thinking strategically, thinking really seriously about where you can cut costs, and thinking about how average, typical customers experience this is a really important place to start from. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, do we have any additional public comment in San Rafael?
We do not. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment via Zoom?
Yes, I see hand raised by Susanna Saunders.
Of San Anselmo. And I am talking to you tonight because I support MCE's deep green 100% renewable energy. I think it's critical and we need an alternative to PG&E that gets 60% of its clean energy from nuclear. I do not want to add dangerous nuclear waste that must be stored for at least for thousands of years for future generations to deal with. The only way to seriously lower utility bills is for the utilities to lower their guaranteed rate of return on their infrastructure investment. For example, PG&E gets 9.8% for their return, and energy experts, as well as the important consumer advocacy group TURN, have recommended 6% would be a fair rate. However, it is imperative that MCE rates remain competitive to PG&E so we can have continue to have people willing to enroll in 100% deep green. MCE must do all it can to lower rates, especially for the lowest income customers. I was shocked to read in the Marin IJ that MCE recently voted to increase salaries. That is an egregious error and a slap in the face to those struggling to pay their higher MCE deep green bill. How can we ask those customers to continue to sacrifice to pay more while already high pay packages get increased? So I urge you to vote in the lowest cost for MCE rates without sacrificing the ability to procure that renewable energy. I urge you to overhaul management that has made mistakes in paying too high a cost for RECs that do not reduce actual fossil fuel emissions. I feel insulted that MCE was comfortable calling itself fossil free when it was not, and I had no idea. Despite these mistakes, it is critical that MCE remain as an alternative. Although I am disappointed by MCE's recent mistakes, it pales in comparison to what PG&E has done. From the lack of maintenance causing wildfires to the sweetheart deals from the CPUC, PG&E has not put customer ahead of profits. It is despicable that they were allowed to retroactively get PIAA fees. Although they have lowered rates for 2026, they have already filed to raise rates in 2027. They filed for permission. PG&E had $2.5 billion in profit in 2024 alone. PG&E is receiving hundreds of millions of dollars to keep Diablo Valley Canyon nuclear plant going. That money could be going to building out infrastructure and hiring staff that would shorten the 3.5-year wait to get solar and wind energy onto the grid. That does not let MCE off the hook. You cannot afford to have people like me, a longtime climate activist, doubt your company. You must lower rates and do a complete investigation of the organization as a whole. Nothing like raising salaries during an affordability crisis to remove customer inertia. It is important. We need customers to remain with MCE. I will remain. I have faith in the board's ability to right this ship. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any additional public comment?
I see no other raised hands, Chair.
Thank you. Bringing it
Chair,
back.
we have an additional comment here in San Rafael. Dan Sedgden.
Thank you.
Good evening. I know you have a rate decision to make. It's very hard to make when there's no model for what customer defection will be. We're not weighing in on that. We are weighing in where things are more certain, where you could reduce costs. And the controversial contracts we want to focus on that are the heart of this are MCE's past issues. These are the Index Plus contracts. There are two types of attributes purchased with these Index Plus contracts, PCC1 renewables and carbon free. Regarding the budget options presented, we do not understand how the savings from PCC1 contracts can only be $3 million. It implies an extremely low price for these attributes. The $3 million number makes it look like MCE is locked into high-price contracts that are not expiring soon, hence the negligible savings available. So we request the price assumption behind the $3 million number. Second, saving $13 million on carbon-free attributes should be seriously considered by the board. These carbon-free contracts create no environmental benefit. Unlike long-term PPAs, which enable financing of new power plants, these Index Plus contracts are only purchases of the right to claim existing carbon-free energy. They are purchased from existing large hydropower plants in the Northwest. There has been no significant new hydro built in the Northwest for at least 30 years. This is a zero-sum game. Within the industry, it's called reshuffling. Utilities claim less carbon-free in Washington State. We claim more carbon-free here in California. The grid does not change. The lack of environmental benefit is common sense and widely known in the industry. Please see the MCL memos in the public comments section for a more thorough explanation. Okay, so no environmental benefit to these contracts. We do realize there's a business decision here. Saving the $13 million will increase perceived, not real, perceived emissions via the product content label, but it is not clear if this will have any impact on customer retention. If significantly greater prices than PG&E are not expected to affect MCE's customer retention, do we really think this would? Here's an opportunity to save money and not affect the environment in any way. One final point. In previous years, there was no budget or price limit on these Index Plus contracts, resulting in tremendous overspending. That's kind of where you are today. That's why you're facing this gap. That must be avoided in the future. Yet by choosing one of the presented options with PCL targets, you are saying, buy this quantity of attributes no matter what the price. That makes no sense. That's why no matter what you do tonight, you need to establish more oversight over these contracts and set clear cost and price limits. Thank you for your time and thank you for your service on this board.
Thank you for your public comments, sir. We have one more hand raised via Zoom.
Yes, we have Jody Timms.
Good evening, board. I guess I just want to weigh in on on urging you to choose a rate that is as low as you possibly can for ratepayers. I do not think most people know that MCE is a nonprofit. And as a nonprofit, I mean, I think that's a very important factor for a lot of us, that the point is not to be making undue reserves and money. But when you increase the cost of operations through staff salaries and new staff positions, which I believe there are 5 being proposed, and there are also, as I have recalled, potential cuts to programs. I don't think you're going to be able to add increased costs and cuts to programs and higher rates. I don't think that's going to sit well with people, particularly in Marin. I realize this isn't happening as much elsewhere. The media coverage has been critical of MCE, and I think that's an important factor for everyone to consider. So I just urge you, it is a complicated decision, but to choose as low a rates as you really feel the MCE can manage, because that will be important for all of us climate activists and climate change local government entities who are out there trying to encourage people to stay with MCE. I also am getting people pushing back saying, I am leaving. And I'm encouraging them not to do that. But I am concerned about the affordability issue for a lot of people and the reputation of MCE that needs some tender care. Thank you.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Chair. We
Yes,
have an additional comment here in San Rafael when ready.
we're ready. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Robert Miller, Marine Conservation League. As you consider this important decision, it's important to take a step back and make a general point about all the options that the board faces. MCL wants MCE to succeed, so it's really unfortunate that none of the options are good, because right now MCE doesn't have the financial flexibility or strength to be truly competitive with PG&E. Under the option 2+ presented, MCE's customers would pay at least 30% higher all-in customer generation costs after PCIA compared to PG&E. As Director Andre mentioned, compare this to MCE's Bay Area CCA peers that set 2026 generation rates so that all-in customer costs range from 10% below PG&E to 0.5% below for, that first one was for PCE, 0.5% below for Ava and Silicon Valley Clean Energy, and 7% above for Sonoma Clean Power. So a lot lower than MCE's 30% higher generation, all-in generation costs increase. So one reason for this is that MCE has less financial flexibility than peers. And that is the $350 million that's spent on renewable energy and carbon-free attributes over the past 2 years, far more than peers. As we explained in 2 recent letters to MCE, Marine Conservation League sees little greenhouse gas emissions reduction value from this spending. So choosing an option without these attributes would have little environmental impact, but could save money. Going forward, some things are needed for MCE staff to be able to present better pricing options in the future. The first is to look for lessons learned, specifically conduct an audit of the $350 million MCE spent over 2 years on energy attributes, which should be part of a whole organization review. Also needed are clear guardrails on spending for renewable energy and carbon-free attributes, a budget for these attributes with price caps and triggers for staff going back to the board when budgets may be succeeded. This is what happened as Silicon Valley Clean Energy staff did this in 2023, and their board said, they went back to the board, said, we're exceeding the budget cap by $30 million, and the board said, no, we don't want to spend an extra $30 million on carbon-free attributes. They cut their carbon-free attributes percent for a year with no loss.
Thank you for your public comments, sir. You're at time.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any additional public comment?
I see no other hands raised online, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And just once again, we do not have anyone here in Concord, members of the public, and I don't believe we have any members of the public over in Napa either. This has been great discussion. And I know for our budget workshops 1 and 2, as well as our committee meetings, has also been great discussion as well. And so many different opinions. I'm glad at the budget workshop too, I was looking at between option 2 and 3. And I just want to thank staff for all of their work putting into this and providing all of these options for us to move forward and to think about. I know that over in Napa, you mentioned that you would like to make a motion, so I'm going to turn it over to Napa County and Napa Cities.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, if you could put up the slide with the option 2+, I would appreciate it. I would like to make a motion to move forward with the rate setting as laid out in option 2+. What I just want to say in terms of this motion as written, I think it's really critical that the CARES credit be increased and included as noted. I also, while Director Kohler mentioned 1 year, and I understand that, I think this this proposal as laid out, tied to the end of this calendar year, which is tied to the potential change in PCIA rates, is beneficial. So with that, I would make a motion to move forward with motion 2+ as laid out in this graph.
And I'm happy to second that.
All right. Thank you.
Can I make a substitute motion? This is Barbara Kohler. Sorry. My substitute motion would be option 2+ for the full year.
Do we need to vote on the first motion, or do we go with the second motion, Catalina?
Yeah, we have a substitute motion, so we would vote on that first. So Director Kohler's motion, did we have a second? I'm sorry, I don't think that I had that.
Just one clarification, Director Kohler, you mean the full fiscal year, right, in your amended motion?
Yes, the full fiscal year, but at this time, I don't see that there's a second on the substitute. But if there is,
I'd like to make an alternative substitute motion, which is to go with option 3 with a 5 million CARES credit.
I'd second that.
Okay, so just for clarification, so we have the motion from Director Painter that was seconded, and then Director Kohler's motion, substitute motion, was not seconded, and then we have Director Wilkinson's motion as the last motion. And I apologize, would you repeat that one more time, Director Wilkinson?
Well, I'd like to go with option 3 and a 5 million CARES credit, given how few customers it affects.
And that was seconded by Director Beckman. Okay, that is the motion that is on the table to be voted on.
And clarification, please. So would that be until December 31 or for full year?
December 31.
But there isn't a temporary credit in it.
There's no.
It's just a
the
rate
full year
reduction.
Is what?
There's no temporary credit. There's no temporary credit. 2+ has a temporary credit. And that's what the difference between Barbara's motion and Beth's motion was. When that temporary credit expires, yours would just run. There
For
would
the
be
whole year, not the calendar.
That would run.
The rate would run if in effect until the board changed the rates going forward.
Yep.
Are we going to have deliberation on this item? Well, we haven't had a chance to comment on any of the items, and I have a comment to make. Otherwise, I can make another substitute motion if that's preferable.
What are
but
we going to vote to adopt a rate without
discussing it? Usually you have questions, public comment, and then you deliberate. We have not deliberated, to be clear. It would be a violation of the rules.
Chair, you're welcome to invite deliberation.
Yes, let's invite deliberation.
Director Prey?
Thank you. So my concern here, right, we had a good discussion of the proposed CARES credit, right? So we've done 5 million. It's capped it. So we've had few customers who have enrolled in it. Whether it's 5 million or 10 million, we're still capping it. If you have 100,000 people who are eligible for the CARES credit at $240 a year, which is what we've set it for the last 2 years, that's $24 million. So whether it's 5 million or 10 million, we're capping it at between, 1 and 5 or 1 and 2.5 customers are eligible for it. Otherwise, it's capped, right? So I think we should be expanding it and considering it for everyone who's eligible for it, and we build that into the budget. Otherwise, Zay and his great team are going to be in the same situation 6 months from now, 9 months from now, and capping the amount of low-income customers who can actually get this credit that we all think, or most of us think, is beneficial. So I would propose in all of these motions, whichever one we go, that we don't cap it at 5 million, we don't cap it at 10, that we put it out to what it actually is today, which is 24 million.
Well,
So I
I'd
don't
like
know
to
if
make
any of the motion folks
I'd like to
will.
make a substitute motion
Yeah.
to go for 4, option 4.
I'll second that.
That has a 0 proposed credit, though, for CARES.
Well, if we can find money for raises, I'm sure we can find money for rate reductions.
Oh, okay. But that is unconnected to CARES, but yeah.
Right, but it's connected to budget.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if any of the folks who made motions would be willing to up that amount, because otherwise we are just capping it arbitrarily at $10 million, right? There's no reason to cap it at 10 million. Why not cap it at 12 or 1, right?
Can I provide a counter argument there, which is that those 100,000 people are already getting the subsidy from the state. And so we're providing an extra subsidy. But what again about all the people who are just above that threshold, who you're planning to give no relief to? It just seems too much concentration in a very small, in a small group.
I would respectfully say your motion, right, is to cap it at 5 million. So you're saying even less people get the CARES credit. Even those eligible don't get it. No one new can enroll. We're just locking it in for 5,000 people, right?
But they're already getting, all 100,000 are getting subsidies from the state already.
Yeah.
I would like to make a new motion with option 2+, with a proposed CARES credit up to 15 million. So, yeah, and I think in the principles of MCE, we have to remember that we are competing with PG&E, but I don't think people are stay with MCE because of we are competing with PG&E. And the equity principle, I really care about the community that I represent, especially people in the canal. And having the CARES credit is crucial for people that they have to choose between putting the heater on or putting food at the table. So
I'll second that motion.
Excuse me, I think we're at a point of order. How many motions do we now have on the table? I believe there's a limit for 3
I
motions.
believe there's 5. I was just about to ask Catalina the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yes,
So, and if we just can bring just a little order, because I know everyone's just speaking. Madam Clerk, if you can call on people with their light, because we do have directors here in Concord that would like to speak too. So I'll turn it to Catalina so she could give us some directions, because we're just having substitute on top of substitute.
Yes, so my recollection is that we have 4 motions on the table, as one of the motions that were proposed at one time was actually never seconded and doesn't make an official motion. Chair, you have the ability to reject the 4th motion if you and deal with the 3 that we have on the table.
So let's move forward with the 4th motion. That was our very last motion.
Do what?
They're going ahead with yours.
Okay, you want me to do it again? Or it has already?
No, the 4th motion is from Dr. Lawrence Galati,
Yes.
which, as I understand it, is option 2+ with a $15 million CARES credit.
That's right.
And that the same rules apply on the temporary credit being tied to the end of the calendar year. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, and that was seconded by Director Sackett. And Chair, did we have more deliberation that needed to take place from the Concord folks and potentially Napa?
Are there any questions from directors here in Concord? Yes.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, this is Director Murphy. So I just want to be very clear, and I appreciate the difference of opinion when it comes to the motions that have been presented. I also want to reiterate that the technical committee has done its due diligence in recommending option 2. Some of those members have also shown up to workshops, budget workshops. Some of those members are also on the executive committee. So I know that we obviously as a board have the right and responsibility to go beyond a recommendation.
We can't hear you, Director Murphy.
I know I stopped talking because I can't hear myself. So what I'm asking is that, number one, I know that we have the ability as a board to extend on any recommendation, but I also think the due diligence of the committee process is also very valuable to this moment as well. So at this point, we're going beyond any of the options even that staff have presented. And so, I think I just want that to be considered as we think about the deliberation process beyond the board meetings. There is so much deliberation that happens to ensure that we are thinking about these things. And so some of the things that are being brought up, I understand are, again, valid concerns. I also want to reiterate that there was a process. There's one committee, only one standing committee that has made a recommendation, and that recommendation was option 2. But that being said, I wanted to note that, Chair, just because I think that's very important. And I just want to, of course, also support my committee and their work that they've done to get to this point, too.
Thank you, Director Murphy. And appreciate all of the directors that serve on the TechCom committee. I know you guys met twice discussing this and deliberating over this item. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Do you mind I just make a point for the record, which is that the purview of the technical committee does not include rate setting. That is something that lies with the executive committee and with the finance committee, and they weren't given the opportunity to weigh in on this. It is in the technical committee part of their purview, and I'm still confused as to why it went to the technical committee for a vote and didn't come to the executive committee or the finance committee. And it'd be good if staff could clarify that.
It actually did go to the XCOM. The XCOM deliberated for 2 hours, and then we lost our quorum and we were unable to vote.
Right, and then the technical committee also ran out of time, and they had a special meeting later in the week to conclude that.
Timeliness is an issue here.
And the technical committee requested that they bring back under a special committee. So that was at the request of the committee themselves to be able to provide a recommendation, as this item went to all 3 committees, so that the members of the board would have time to deliberate into those sessions. So I understand where you're coming from. All of the committees have had a chance to look at the rate reductions.
But again, when we have set the purview of these different committees with intention, and then we just choose to ignore those rules and take them to different committees, that just seems to not follow the rules again. It doesn't make sense to me, but I hear what you're saying. It's just that the committee that ultimately made a recommendation isn't the committee that has that purview.
I think that all committees have an ability to make a recommendation on something that's been brought to them. I understand that the authority is with rates is typically with the executive committee and the finance committee. And again, we brought it for broader coverage to see all of the members of the board that are on it. So I hear you and I understand. And it's just a note that all of the committees saw it, and the technical committee is the only one that made a recommendation.
Thank you, Catalina. Madam Clerk, can we move forward and take the vote?
Yes. We need public comment, right? We need to take public comment.
No, we already took public comment.
Okay.
So just for clarification, this is the last motion that was made by Director Lauren Sculati and seconded by Director Sackett. It is option 2+ with a $15 million CARES credit, and the credit for the 2+ will expire at the end of December.
Belvedere.
No.
Benicia.
No.
Concord.
No.
Contra Costa County.
No.
Corte Madera.
No.
Danville.
No.
Fairfax.
Yes.
Fairfield.
No.
Hercules.
No.
Lafayette.
No.
Larkspur.
No.
Marin County.
Yes.
Mill Valley.
Yes.
Moraga.
No.
The City of Napa.
No.
The County of Napa and 4 Napa cities.
No.
Novato.
No.
Oakley.
No.
Pinal.
No.
Pittsburgh.
No.
Pleasant Hill.
No.
Richmond.
No.
San Anselmo.
No.
San Rafael.
Yes.
San Ramon.
No.
Sausalito.
No.
Vallejo.
Nay.
Walnut Creek.
Does it matter? No.
Motion fails.
Thank you, Madam
Can I
Clerk.
just ask a question?
Oh,
I just want to ask one question. So since the one we voted on, some of us voted on failed, may we vote on another one? Okay.
Yes. So
well,
the
that
next.
was- yeah, that
Sorry,
was
go
my
ahead, Chair.
question for you, Catalina. Do we, does someone else make another motion, or we go back to the other motions that were made?
We go with the list that's on the table. So we have the next motion, which is that we go with option 4. And that was a motion made by Director Martinez and seconded by Director Andre.
All right,
And
Madam Clerk,
Madam
please call
Chair,
roll.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Madam Chair, but I just want to ensure that we understand the rest of the 3 motions, because we've talked about a couple. So I know we're voting on one, but can we hear all of the motions on the table that are going to be possible just before we start voting again? I know we're going down the list, so thank you.
Thank you, Director Murphy. Catalina, can you provide the last 3 motions? Or
Yes,
or
I-
is it 2 now?
I hope that if I make an error, I will be corrected by director. But as I understand it, the last motion, which is the motion that we have on the table to vote for, is what we just iterated, option 4, Director Martinez, seconded by Director Andre. If that motion fails, then the board will move to vote on the motion that was made by Director Wilkinson and seconded by Director Beckman, which is option 3 with a $5 million CARES credit. If that motion fails, then the board would vote on the motion made by Director Painter and seconded by Director Gallagher, thank you. And that is option 2 plus with a CARES credit. And that will be the CARES credit and the 2 plus temporary credit will expire at the end of December. So that is the order. Again, right now it is option 4. If that fails, it'll be option 3 with $5 million CARES. And if that fails, it'll be option 2 plus.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you please take roll?
And for clarity, this is option 4, just to make sure everybody knows.
We did motion 4.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Motion 3 option.
Kathleen, can you just repeat the motion?
This is to go with the rate reduction option 4 as motioned by Director Martinez and seconded by Director Ande.
Belvedere?
Yes.
Can we ask a clarifying question on this, if that's okay? Director Beckman posed a question on CARES, which some of us are concerned on.
Yeah.
If we were to vote on one of the options that does not include CARES, is there an option to add CARES back as part of the budget process? Or is this when we're making the final decision on that?
I would defer to.
That would be up to your board.
I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
Oh, you're right. I don't think we're going to turn on.
Oh, it's not turned on?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
To add in CARES at what amount?
I'm sorry?
To add in CARES
Yes.
at what amount?
CARES, what amount would you be agreeable to?
Catalina, can we make amendments when we was about to vote?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. All right.
We actually started the voting process. So we did already take a vote from Director Wilkinson. And so the vote, I don't believe amendments can occur at this time.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking. Can we move
But
forward?
you can
with
add
the-
it in at a later date. And the answer was yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Perry. Madam Clerk, can we please call roll?
I still said yes.
Thank you. Benicia?
No.
Concord?
No.
Contra Costa County?
No.
Corte Madera?
Yes.
Danville?
No.
Fairfax?
No.
Fairfield?
No.
Hercules?
No.
Lafayette?
No.
Larkspur?
Yes.
Marin County?
No.
Mill Valley?
Yes.
Moraga?
No.
The City of Napa?
No.
The County of Napa and 4 Napa cities?
No.
Novato?
Yes.
Oakley?
No.
Pinole?
No.
Pittsburgh?
No.
Pleasant Hill?
No.
Richmond?
Yes.
San Anselmo?
Yes.
San Rafael?
No.
San Ramon?
No.
Sausalito?
Yes.
Vallejo?
Nay.
Walnut Creek?
No.
Did I miss anybody? Okay. Motion fails.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can we go to the next motion, please?
Okay, the next motion that is on the table is option 3 with a $5 million CARES credit. And that was a motion made by Director Wilkinson and seconded by Director Beckman.
friendly amendment, if I may offer one. I would like to remove the $5 million cap on the CARES credit. My intent in doing this would be to raise the CARES credit above a $5 million cap down the road, but adopting this rate without a predefined cap. Does that make sense?
Should the motion just be for option 3 with the acknowledgement that the CARES credit will be discussed at a later date within the budget?
Yes, which I don't even think needs to be acknowledged because my understanding is it's at our board's discretion to set the CARES credit perhaps during the budgeting process.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
Option 3, clean.
Okay, so just for clarity, this motion is now option 3. Okay.
Chair, may I ask a question on
Yeah.
option 3? What would be the budget impact of option 3?
Can someone provide the budget impact for option 3?
Yeah, Cal or Maeda may want to weigh in on this. One thing I do want to highlight that was discussed in the budget workshops, but just hasn't been touched on this evening, is just a reminder that the option 3 would have us slightly below where we expect cost of service to be going into the following fiscal year. So it is likely that we would be needing to come back to the board this time next year for a rate increase. But the cost of service is certainly volatile, so we don't know that for certain. That's just based on projections at this time. Other implications would be for Maeda or Cal to talk about the use of the ORF and any other implications you might want to add.
Yeah.
Sure. So
Go
ahead, Cal. Yeah.
In option 3, I think, like Don said, that's like going below cost of service. So obviously we have to come back and revise the generation rates upward. But you hope PCIA would come down. That would help customers, even if we increase the rates. We would exhaust pretty much all our operating reserve fund at that point, right? We have roughly 70 million. So we are looking at using up 67 million.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Can I just clarify there, though, Maida, that would be net income of basically 0 because that's deferred revenue, correct? So it would produce a net income of close to 0.
I'm sorry, Director, can you repeat that, please?
So because that's deferred income, the 70 million in the operating reserves, our net income for the year would be close to 0 with option 3.
That's correct.
Okay,
yes.
thanks.
All right, so bringing it back to a vote for option 3. Madam Clerk, can you please call roll?
Belvedere,
Yes.
Venetia,
No.
Concord,
No.
Contra Costa County,
No.
Corte Madera,
Yes.
Danville,
Yes.
Fairfax,
No.
Fairfield,
No.
Hercules,
No.
Lafayette,
Yes.
Larkspur,
Yes.
Marin County,
Yes.
Mill Valley,
Yes.
Moraga,
No.
Napa,
No.
County of Napa and 4 Napa cities,
No.
Novato,
Yes.
Oakley,
No.
Pinole,
No.
Pittsburgh,
No.
Pleasant Hill,
No.
Richmond,
Yes.
San Anselmo,
Yes.
San Rafael,
No.
San Ramon, San Ramon, Sausalito,
Yes.
Vallejo. We can't hear you in Concord if you're speaking.
Can you hear us in Concord?
We're just gonna give them up. Yeah, it's probably take at least.
To let folks know online, we are taking a pause. Our teleconference location in Concord has lost internet, and we're taking a moment to bring them back up online. Temporary recess. Great. All right. Well, then the recess has concluded, and we will resume the vote. Clerk, will you please continue the vote? And just for clarification, in case the recess caused everyone's momentary lapse here, it is for option 3.
I just want to step in, Jess. I think the last vote that we heard was from Pleasant Hill, and then the computer cut out.
Hi, Tanya. So it looks like we ended here and San Rafael was the last one that we had. You can vote.
Yes, San Ramon night.
So we're going to begin with San Ramon.
No.
And we did call Sausalito. Vallejo,
Nay.
Walnut Creek.
No.
And was there anybody that I missed? Motion fails.
Okay, so now we're moving on to our last vote, which is option 2+. Is that correct, Catalina?
That's correct, Chair. It is option 2+ that identifies a CARES credit, and the temporary credit is tied to the end of December. And that was a motion made by Director Painter and seconded by Director Gallagher. Concord, can you hear us? All right, we have another internet interruption. We are going to pause for a moment, a brief recess. Again, thank you all for bearing with us. It seems the storms are impacting over the Concord location.
Okay, can you hear us in Concord?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear us in Napa?
Yes, we can.
All right. And so now we're going to move forward with our last our last vote for option 2+.
That is correct.
All right, I'll turn it over to you, Madam Clerk, to call roll, please.
Belvedere.
No.
Benicia.
Yes.
Concord.
With respect to the technical committee and gratitude, I'm voting yes.
Thank you. Contra Costa County.
Yes.
Puerto Madera.
No.
Danville.
No.
Fairfax.
Yes.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Hercules.
Yes.
Lafayette.
Yes.
Larkspur.
No.
Did you say no?
No.
Thank you. And Marin County left. Mill Valley.
No.
Moraga.
Yes.
City of Napa.
Yes.
The County of Napa and 4 Napa cities.
Yes.
Novato.
No.
Oakley.
No.
Pinole.
Yes.
Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Pleasant Hill.
Yes.
Richmond.
No.
San Anselmo,
No.
San Rafael,
Yes.
San Ramon,
No.
Sausalito,
No.
Vallejo,
Aye.
Walnut Creek.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. So I just want to bring it back to the directors because I know our internet service is not great and it keeps dropping. I want to see what's the pleasure of the directors to end the meeting early tonight, given that our system then failed on us twice already. And I know our next agenda item is going to be a long discussion as well. So what's the
Chair?
pleasure? Yes.
Hi, this is Director Birdseye from Benicia. I would suggest skipping over the budget discussion because there's no action on that this evening and going to item number 8 and adjourning after that.
Second.
Do we have any, do we need to take a vote on this? Catalina?
Yeah, you have a motion on the table. I would recommend to be voted. And
Do we need to go to public comment as well? Or would it be a vote just from the board?
it would be the best practice to go with public comment.
Okay. So, are there any questions or comments from directors here in the room? In Concord?
We have Director Palmares.
Just a point of clarification, do we need to vote on doing this, or do you have the power to do that as chair already to move things around?
Catalina,
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Director Palmares. Yes, as the chair, you could bypass the vote. If folks disagreed with this adjustment, then we would go through another vote to pursue a different path. So apologies for that. Yes, Chair, you can make that adjustment.
Thank you. So let's just reorder the agenda and move up item 8 to 7. Okay. And then as for item 7, there is no action on that item. It's a discussion item. And then we can move that item to a future date, given that in March, we'll still be talking about the budget as well. All right, so item 8, this is something that I have heard from other directors about having an end time to our board meetings. I know last month we went until like 12 o'clock. And the month before that, 11:30, and I believe we had another late meeting before that as well. And to look at some of the other cities, I know they have an end time as 10 o'clock. And so we wanted to bring this forward, Director Darling and myself. Director Darling, did you have anything you would like to add to this item?
No, I think it just recognizes that we need to be more efficient with our meetings because decisions made after 10 o'clock are usually far more difficult and my brain stops functioning. And if we were at a point where we did need to continue an item, a motion could be made and voted on to extend if we wanted to, but without a motion to extend, we would just end it at 10 o'clock. And I think that's a good balancing, especially for those of us here in the room that have to be up in the morning.
Thank you, Director Darling. Yeah, that's 3.5 hours. And so we will look at two directors to see if there are any questions or comments here in Concord. Director Bailey.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just for clarification, would we be ending the meeting at 10 or I'm not sure to change anything. I just want to understand the proposal. Is it end at 10 or is it last item at 10?
And I have a question along those lines. In the city of Concord, we don't take any new items without a vote after 10 o'clock. So if there's something already in progress, we would go beyond 10, but we don't take any new items after 10 o'clock, or we vote on it first.
Yeah, that's similar in Lafayette also. I mean, ours is at 11 o'clock, but it's the same idea. That I think we even like don't even do many new items after the deadline. You can finish what you got, but that's kind of it. So we've had to reorganize the agenda a couple times to make sure we got it.
Chair, this is more of an idea. I would argue that at 10, if there is an item in progress, it's called a question immediately to end the meeting. Because I think there are items that we have as a board sometimes that that last item could take us an hour, and then we're back at square one. I don't know if we could make that a standing rule that at 10 the item is called a question, but it's a way to ensure that we at least force a vote. And if people vote it down, you can continue it, sure, but at least we end debate at 10 p.m. Another way of going about it.
So, yes.
Sorry, just really quick comment. Along those lines, if we're on an agenda item, it should end in its natural way. And then if it goes a little past 10 or whatever, no additional items may be discussed. Okay.
We have Director Zakach.
Yeah, I like the idea of calling the question at 10 o'clock because I do think sometimes our discussions can go on for an hour or more. So I think that's a great idea.
Thank you to all the directors here. Directors in San Rafael, do you have any comments or questions you would like to share?
There is Director Gulati, Director Kohler, Director Wilkinson, and then Director Colloway.
Yes, thank you so much. So since we are speaking of efficiency, I would like to request, I really love public comment, but I would suggest that instead of making it 3 minutes, we go to 2 minutes. This is pretty standard for the city of San Rafael, for the school board, for the county, I believe. So I would like to propose that as well.
Barbara Kohler, I'm used to very late meetings. Fairfax often goes to midnight, and we do have a 10 o'clock rule and we have an 11:30 rule. And our new mayor has decided we're ending at 9:30, which we'll see what happens. But I would like to throw out the idea of ending here at 9:30. And I don't like the idea of us saying 10 o'clock, call the question. I think we need to pace ourselves and control ourselves. There was a lot of discussion tonight that was very good, but it was also, some of us felt that we had to talk more than once. And I think we ought to, really consider ending the meetings at 9:30. Whatever we can't get to, jettison it to another meeting or potentially to a committee that's coming up if it's the right committee. And I also think, I know it's very difficult to control members of a board and our discussion, but I think we ought to consider something like that. The other thing, just a suggestion, and I agree with Director Lawrence Galati about 2 minutes. We've gone to 2 minutes in Fairfax. We do get some grief about it. Bay Area Air Quality Management District is 2 minutes. The county is 2 minutes. People can prepare for 2 minutes. And I think we also ought to consider the length of some of our presentations. I know we're really trying to be transparent and show everything, but I don't know that we need to read every word, or just like tonight, it was a shortened, you can provide a longer presentation for the packet, but let's trim them up. So, we all have a lot of things in our lives. So I'd like us to consider 9:30 and cut it off. And if we can't finish, we don't finish. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kohler. So the 2 minutes is not on the agenda, but we can propose that for an agendized item for the next meeting. I do agree with you. For Contra Costa County, we're 2 minutes as well. When I was on City Council in Pittsburgh, we're 2 minutes as well. So, and then just to add to what you shared, Director Kohler, the last agenda item, I know we done had 6 meetings, whether they were in committees or workshops. And so I think, you know, all of those workshops are presented to us so that we can begin thinking and coming to the board meeting ready to deliberate and vote. And so, you know, one agenda item to be 2.5 hours after we done had several meetings having this discussion. So if it's something that we can think about a little more around that, I think that would be great as well. Do we have any additional directors in San Rafael that have any questions or comments?
Yes, we have Director Wilkinson, Director Culloway, and Director Beckman.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I agree. I fully support a earlier end time. 10 o'clock seems right to me. The only thing I would suggest is that, as Director Kohler suggested, that staff really limit their presentations as much as possible and really prioritize only bringing items to the board which have policy implications, or at least prioritizing those in terms of the order that they come on the agenda so that we get through the policy items first, and that those do get covered within the time. And also that we don't cancel board meetings if there's material work that you need us to be voting on.
Thank you.
I'm also good with a 10 o'clock stop time. I think that we should allow the public their 3 minutes. A lot of the people who come here are experts in their field, and I felt like some of them, even 3 minutes, I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about what they were saying. We don't generally have a lot of members of the public here. I don't think they're the reason we're here at 10 o'clock tonight, and probably would be here till midnight if we did the whole agenda. So I don't want to cut them off. That's my comment.
I agree with Director Culloway, and I also just want to add, I think the real pain point here is the fundamental problem is MCE's board is way too big. We have 34 directors, and so if we're going to all be engaged meaningfully in discussion on any agenda item, our meetings are going to go incredibly long if we have more than one agenda item, and I think that's our fundamental pain point here. But I'm hoping that we will be able to address that through the governance review, but in the interim, I'm happy to support a 10 p.m. cutoff. And I would agree with Director Culloway. I don't see a 3-minute public comment duration as being a pain point for the agency.
Thank
Director
you.
Darling? I was just going to say, why don't we go to public comment and then bring an item back to the board and we can consider it.
I do have my hand
We
raised.
have directors and
Sorry, Beth.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I just want to quickly say, I also really support an earlier stop time, whether 9:30 or 10 o'clock seems reasonable. Obviously, I participate remotely because it's a real challenge for me personally to be driving at late hours. That could be a challenge for others. This is a board that asks people to come from fairly distant locations as opposed to a council where your council members are within a closer driving distance. So that really warrants an earlier stop time. And as Director Beckman just said, I think a lot of these issues are going to be in the forefront of the governance review. So if we could at least at this short term set a hard stop date at 10 p.m. To finish the item that's on hand is fine, but we just need to be mindful that comments should be brief and we need to come to a conclusion. So I would support an earlier stop time.
Thank you. Can we go to public comment if we have any public comment on this item?
Yes, we have Nick Papas here in San Rafael.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Nick Papas. I just want to make sure I keep you all here past 10 p.m. because we're driving the clock here. I just want to link this discussion, which I think is a really good discussion. No good decisions are made after midnight and few after 10 p.m. The memo that I wrote to you all emphasized a role that the board delegated to the technical committee to go deep on the procurement that MCE does, to engage with policy issues like attributes, to engage with issues like risk, things like how MCE is faring in the market, what is the risk that your budget has overages in this year, next year, how does that inform your strategy? As you'll see in the memo, the technical committee is not doing that consultation. The technical committee has met less than half of the months over the last 4 years. There are processes where you guys can become efficient. The technical committee could take all these issues. You could have a small subset of the board really process these issues. You know, I wrote about resource shuffling in my memo. I had a great discussion with staff over the break. Staff's view is that that is not an issue. That's been debunked. I have a very different view, as you'll see in my letter. Gosh, wouldn't that be a great item for a functional technical committee to take up in its new revived role, doing the consultation that Resolution 2020-04 calls for it. Thanks for hearing us out. We're all here late. I'm looking forward to getting home too, but on behalf of me as a customer, all of my neighbors who don't have the time or energy to be here, who are going to have some rough surprises in their bills this summer, appreciate you all speaking up to keep public comment on the books. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If we can keep public comment to the item that we're discussing as well for our next public comment, please.
I see no additional public comment in San Rafael, Chair.
Okay, thank you. We have no members of the public here in Concord, and I see no members of the public on the screen in Napa. Do we have any members of the public via Zoom?
I will defer to Jessica to see if there are any members of the public on Zoom. I don't have internet here.
I see no additional raised hands, Chair.
Thank you. I am bringing it back to the board to see what's the pleasure of the board.
I'd like to make a motion to set a 10 o'clock stop time if an agenda item appears to be going long past the 10 o'clock. Call a question at 10 as to whether or not we continue.
I'll second that.
Can you please call roll?
Who
Madam
seconded? Can I, Darlene motioned it. Who seconded?
Amanda Sakach, Pleasant Hill.
Thank you.
Could I ask for clarification just so that we understand how to implement this? So as I understand your motion, Director Darlene, is that we will have a 10 p.m. stop time, and that is a call to question at 10 p.m. if an item is still going. Items remaining on the agenda, is there any consideration, or is that the default is that we end at 10 on that item and everything else goes to the next agenda?
I think that's the default. Our agenda items tend to be large, and so it's hard to, we found that one of the meetings that we went to 11:30, we just kept saying, well, we'll try one more time. And I'd rather just call the question at 10.
Thank you.
So I have a clarifying question here. This is Director Nakamura. If we are in the presentation section of the item or in the questioning period, that's one thing, but then we can't cut off public comment and then we get into the discussion. So is this only if we've gotten into the discussion period? At what time during the agenda item are we calling the question? I think we need some more guardrails here.
I do not have a strong opinion on that one, and I do not understand the legal requirements of stopping in the middle of an agenda item. If we've already heard public comment, are in deliberations, my sense would be, Catalina's.
I believe that if we called the question, that would then force a motion and we could take public comment at that time. So it would require us to go beyond the 10 p.m. to accomplish that task.
Great, and then we will complete that last item.
It's not perfect, but it's better than what we got.
So I think I just need to hear from Catalina one more time how this would work if we are at 10 o'clock, just stopping all motion on whatever we're doing and calling the question, because there's 4 different components to each agenda item.
think it depends on when the item is taken up. I think if the board takes an item up at 9:55, we'll be pretty early on in the process. And so then the chair could perhaps make a decision earlier on to not take up that item because we could not get to a point where we could effectively call the question. But essentially, as the motion is described, it is that at 10 p.m., if we are in the middle of an item, we would call the question, we would take motions, have public comment, and then the item would end.
And we
As with the
typically
meeting.
don't take, so Catalina, we typically don't take motions before public comment.
Yes, I apologize. Yeah, we would call the question, we would go to public comment, and then take the motion. Excuse me, I was reversing that, so apologies on that.
If you call the question, don't you have to take that to a vote? You can't just call the question and have it be done. You have everyone has to vote on it to agree to call it the question.
My intention would be we get to 10 o'clock. The chair says we are at 10 o'clock. We will carry this agenda item over to the future. If somebody on the board feels that it is worth spending the extra time to continue the item that night, they can make a motion to extend the meeting. And then we will take the public comment and take a vote on that. Does that make sense? You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
Well, that's something completely different. That's not calling the question. Calling the question is taking a vote to end discussion and vote. What you're saying is you're asking to continue an item, which is not the same.
Okay. You couldn't call the question if you hadn't done public comments.
Sorry, Catalina, maybe you clarify. Calling a question is when there's a motion on the table and you're in the middle of a discussion. It's not when you're in the middle of a presentation and no one's even made a motion yet. So, right?
Calling, I guess I'm only pretending to be a lawyer. I was saying when you get to 10 o'clock, you cease the meeting unless somebody makes a motion to extend the meeting to complete that agenda item.
You're thinking that maybe you make a motion to adjourn at 10 o'clock. I think is what you're thinking. If you're in the middle of a presentation or something, or maybe if we get to, maybe the policy is, if you get to 10 o'clock, we adjourn. The issue is going to be if we're in the middle of a presentation or if we're starting to start a new item, do we want to adjourn and continue that item to a later date if there's no urgency with that item?
And I think that would be my idea, is that if somebody feels so compelled to continue at 10 o'clock, they can move to extend the meeting and call the vote and see if people agree.
So I think that might be, is it going to be the policy of MCE board going forward that for matters that don't have an urgency or exigency, that we adjourn our meetings at 10 p.m. and we continue whatever's left on the agenda to a later date to be determined by whoever sets the agenda setting committee, who I think is XCOM, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that, did I state the policy?
That works
perhaps?
for me because it's after 10 o'clock.
That works for
Brain
me.
stopped working.
Okay.
Could we hear that one more time? I'm sorry.
So the policy.
I'm sorry, your microphone is off.
Oops, sorry. The policy would be that going forward, that the board would make a motion at 10 o'clock to adjourn the meeting for matters, the remaining matters on the agenda that didn't have an urgency for conclusion that evening to a later time to be determined by the agenda setting committee, who I believe is XCOM. And that would be the policy going forward for the board of directors.
Yes.
Do we need to vote on that as a policy or just adopt that by consent?
I think if we have this as an item on the agenda, we have a motion. I will flag that we had a motion and a second. And so it sounds like this is kind of a friendly amendment to your motion. So I would urge or identify if you would like to accept that.
I accept it.
And if we have a second on that, the person who seconded.
Amanda, would you like to second it?
I will second again.
Okay, I recommend we just take the roll call vote for this.
So be it.
Madam Clerk, can you please call roll?
Belvedere,
Yes.
Venetia,
Yes.
Concord,
Yes.
Contra Costa County,
Yes.
Corte Madera,
Yes.
Danville,
Yes.
Fairfax,
Yes.
Fairfield,
Yes.
Hercules,
Yes.
Lafayette,
Yes.
Larkspur,
Yes.
Mill Valley,
Yes.
Moraga,
Yes.
the City of Napa,
Yes.
the County of Napa and 4 Napa cities,
Yes.
Novato,
Yes.
Oakley,
Yes.
Pinal,
Yes.
Pittsburgh,
Yes.
Pleasant Hill,
Yes.
Richmond,
Yes.
San Anselmo.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. San Rafael,
Yes.
San Ramon,
Yes.
Sausalito,
Yes.
Vallejo,
Aye.
Walnut Creek.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Now moving on to the next agenda item, Catalina, can this item be just making sure, does this item need to be voted on if we want to end the meeting? Do we need a vote to end the meeting and move this item to the next meeting?
I would say that the process was just implemented effective immediately.
Oh, it's effective immediately. Okay. So the proposed FY 2026-2027 budget elements will be moved to the next MCE meeting. Item 9, are there any board or staff matters? Seeing none in Concord, any in Napa,
No, thank you.
any in San Rafael?
Yes, we have Director Perret and Justine Parmalee.
Thank you.
I was just going to bring up, and I leave this to the chair and vice chair's discretion, but, we did discuss the merits of having a 6 p.m. start time versus 6:30 in the past. We settled on 6:30, and just suggesting, Chair, if you do run up to 10 p.m. and you're running into challenges, that maybe we reconsider that and consider a 6 p.m. start in the future.
Thank you. The next director that had a question or comment?
Oh, actually, it was staff here. Thank you, Chair.
Okay,
This
thank
is Justine Parmalee. I just wanted to thank the board sincerely for your patience as we dealt with technological issues this evening, both with the lag in the vote tracker early on that we were able to resolve, and also with the intermittent internet issues we were having in Concord. I do blame the storm, but there was a little bit of a work going on behind the scenes. So I just wanted to thank you for your patience and grace with staff.
Thank you. All right. So we will now adjourn the meeting. I just want to thank you all to have a good evening. Please drive safely out in the storm. And we look forward to seeing you next month for the full board meeting.